Did it? Yeah. Well, I may have started streaming but not gone live, where you make that distinction. So I guess we just have to do that intro again of just like, hey, things are hopefully gonna be okay today, but things all just went a little awry right before we were meant to go live, and my dumb dog ate lots of chocolate, managed to figure out a way to like hurdle himself onto a desk and get chocolate off there. So he is being taken to the vet by my partner. He's sorting that out, and I just need to keep an eye out for any updates and stuff. So I'm hoping this can be a nice QA podcast. We enjoy just doing podcast number 69 together, but I am just going to have to keep an eye out for updates, and it may just be that I'm on high alert and might need to shoot at some point. Oh god, Carl's muted again. Oh god, should we just end the podcast now?
So I'm just gonna throw myself out the fucking window, right?
God, yeah. So this is the thing. We were ready. We were ahead of time.
We were really on time. We'd done really well.
We'd done well today, and then my dog ate chocolate and was a knobhead and threw everything off. And just, we're not ending the stream. That was us just being
not as
stupid.
So people missed my awesome joke. Everyone who's listening to the audio version, they got it, but all of you are watching the video version, you missed my awesome joke of like, yeah, Lucas's dog ate some chocolate, and in my head, I don't care what it was a Toblerone. And just like, well, how do you know he ate the Toblerone? Just the suspiciously triangular Oryx walks in. Like the 4 kilo Toblerone you can get. He just wanders in. Or like, do you know that picture of like Jerry from Tom and Jerry when he eats the cheese and he's just triangular?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I imagine. But yes, if Lucas looks a little distracted or keeps glancing down at his phone, that's why. So no, don't judge him. Just the wonders of pet ownership, eh?
It's true, and luckily, luckily my partner was there able to at least assist and be like, I'll be the one to take him, because, not throwing blame their way, they were the one that left the chocolate there. So they were just like, I'll go sort this. You go do your podcast. I'll keep you updated. But yeah,
It must be so wild being a dog, though. And like, it'd be like just someone leaving out like a Big Mac, but it's got poison in it. It's like, you're not allowed to eat that. It's like, but it's right there.
Yeah, but there's food right there. And bear in mind, like, when they left the house and, left him alone downstairs while we were recording, he had his food. Like, he had his dinner with him.
You want your food.
So he ate his dinner, and then successfully, after eating his dinner and finishing that up, went, yeah, but now I need to go hunt for whatever scavengers of human food I can find around the house.
He wanted your food.
Yeah.
How can you blame him? He wanted your food. But yeah, let's try and, like, deep breath. Hopefully everything's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
What number episode are we on today, Lucas?
Well,
it's quite a nice one, right?
It was meant to be a nice podcast. It's
literally
fucking meant to be, because it's podcast number 69, where we don't normally point out the numbers, but this one mattered because apparently I wanted to celebrate everyone's favourite day. Oh god, it's not gone well. It's not, but
this might be the worst thing that's ever happened on this day.
Carl, why did you have to... Jesus Christ, that's a rough joke. Oh, so Aussie won Pet of the Week.
Yes, Pet of the Week this week is Aussie. The fact Aussie's upside down as well. I bet Aussie won't steal a Toblerone. Like, a cat just knock it over, right?
It's like, the cat doesn't want to eat your food. The cat wants to make sure that you can't eat your food.
But I said cats have the same energy as that wolf in Rick and Morty, where he just like eats Jerry's social security check. It's like, but this is food and it will sustain you, unless it's my unhappiness that sustains you. That's what cats are like to me.
Oh dear. So yeah, this is the Wiki Weekdays podcast where apparently this time we answer your questions.
Yes, special episode because for a special day and a special
Bruh,
occasion.
oh.
You wanted to do the QA episode on 9/11.
I didn't know that it was 9/11. I didn't know my dog was going to try and fucking eat his way to death today.
Yes, he did.
Oh dear. So, yeah, welcome. People of, across various different locations have asked us some questions. We have gone and cherry-picked some of those questions to just pick out the ones that would make for more interesting discussions rather than just, like, one-word responses.
Although sometimes, like, the one-word Q&A questions are actually hilarious because it's just when someone asks you, like, what's your favourite movie? And you just, like, you name the movie. And they get mad at you for not answering in a more in-depth. It's like, well, ask a better question then.
So if your question isn't being read out, then you didn't ask a good enough question, apparently.
That's not what I'm saying. That's what I'm implying. Very different.
That's just what Karl is definitely saying.
Shut up.
And also, like, thank you, Eric, for the lovely $20 super chat. That's really appreciated. And
it is.
That says for Oryx or for more chocolate. At this point, I don't want to get more chocolate into the household.
The worst bit is they sell like dog-friendly chocolate, which I feel just muddies the waters a little bit. Because then it's like, you're not allowed to eat this chocolate, but you can eat this chocolate. The dog doesn't fucking understand, right?
No, exactly, yeah.
It's like, worst thing my dog got into was like a Christmas calendar. And the worst bit is, it specifically it took out the plastic and then ate each individual one. Because that was the worst bit. It's like he figured out how to get in.
Oh god. And the Eric says on 9/11, I guess. Like, yeah, it's an unfortunate day, I appreciate. But hey ho, like, the world unfortunately doesn't stop. People gotta keep working. That is the way of the grind and the capitalist.
That literally happened, right? Like, do you know the second tower? People got sent back to work.
Wait, what?
Well, because they just thought it was an accident, right? They didn't know it was like a deliberate thing. Because, like, because it's with the date, there was a documentary. I was like, well, there's always a new documentary right now. I was like, I'm gonna watch it. And one of the details that like they have revealed is, yeah, people in like the second tower got sent back to work because they just thought it was a fire.
Oh, come on.
And some people like, fuck no, I'm not going back to work, and they got fired. And there's one guy in like the documentary who has like a wry sense of humor about it, of like, well, half an hour later that didn't matter. My office didn't exist.
Yeah.
And it's like, of all the people, it's like, you probably can joke about that. You literally avoided death, right?
Well, it's
that
like
guy must like bought like 15 lottery tickets the next day.
It's like, isn't it Pete Davidson that his dad like died being a firefighter or something in 9/11? Yeah, he's like, if anyone can make a joke about it, it's me.
Well, yeah, it came up when Kanye West was beefing with Pete Davidson,
right?
And he said in an interview, like, God told me to to get Pete Davidson, and I think it was Pete Davidson or like one of his friends in a stand-up set says, imagine what that's like. Like 10 years ago, Kanye West gets a message from God of like, hey Kanye, was this 11-year-old? His dad just died in 9/11. You got to get him.
Yeah, you got to make sure. Just that's your new target now.
Like, yeah, go get this kid. Let's move swiftly on, shall we?
Let's do it. Karl, one good little bit of news this week for me is that my wiki won this week.
Yes! Which wiki was that?
That was the 90s in fashion wiki versus like the Monday Night Wars, was it?
Monday Night Wars. So that was two very 90s themed topics, and you just like the discussion about fashion. Because that's the thing about Wiki Weekends, it's the discussion that matters, not necessarily the topic.
Exactly, yeah. And I like the fact that what happened that week was I didn't have a topic. You told me yours. I piggybacked off yours to make it a 90s podcast
and
for
then
the week.
Won.
And then I won. I was like, I jumped on your topic, dunked it down, and was like, no, I'm going to win this week.
So you saw the ball on the floor rather than pass it back to me. He's kicked it back at fucking net and like, my goal. No assist, all me. Let's go.
And then I picked up the ball, took it home, and said, you can't play anymore.
It's not your ball anymore. So it is my ball. My favourite Simpsons joke when just like Lenny leaves like the YMCA. And he's like, I'm going home. And just It's like, hey, that's not your ball. And he sprints out, and just Rainier Wolfcastle's like, the hunt is on. And chasing with a sniper rifle.
Oh, so Carl, I guess it's a good time to just get into some questions.
Jump straight into Q&A, yeah. We've done our usual spiel for the start. We've had a pet of the week. You can go vote on it or submit a new pet of the week in our Discord. You can support us via the various links you can find below. They include our socials, our Twitch streams, the Discord as mentioned, our Patreon, all that fun stuff. But as I said, let's crack on with the Q&A.
Yeah. You know, like, comment questions down below that we won't answer because you were too late.
You're too late. It's a fear. If there's any decent ones in chat, we might.
Well, in chat, we might. If someone wants to ask us a question on the fly with a super chat, maybe we'll read it, Carl.
We could do.
Bribe people.
You need it today, right?
No, to be fair, that's them bribing us to read the question.
You might end up with like a fat ass vet bill. Because they charge by the foot. If they charge by the inch on your dog.
We've got to go to the emergency vet as well, because it's like after regular vet opening times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be getting charged extra, but
so I could have done it for free because I could have spun him around really fast.
Oh god, that's my first instinct. Is like I could just try and like stick my fucking finger in his mouth and try and make him throw up, right? But that's probably exacerbating the situation of like, I'm probably then causing other problems and distressing him as well as not actually solving the problem, right?
Yeah, last thing you need to do is distress the dog.
Yeah, but yeah,
I do think the best way to do it, just vomit. If you ever feel like you have to, just get rid of it.
Yeah, always the way. But I figured I'd kind of group, because obviously, naturally, people are gonna ask similar kind of questions with topics and stuff. So I've kind of grouped things into rough topics if and when I found it applicable. But the first ones, just with the whole channel being themed around wikis, the first few questions are some kind of wiki topic. But
okay.
Yeah, Jake Silverknuckles asked on Twitter, on the topic of wikis, there was recently a lot of debate about how fandom run their wikis, and I'm not privy to that conversation myself, but...
Just all the ads.
Right, yeah. I presume...
Do you know why, like, when we go on a wiki and there's a shit ton of ads? It's because fandom.com bought out all of the fan wikis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you just settling for the first and the best, or just the most generic ones, or are you searching for better suited wikis?
And we generally tend to... I don't know, because obviously we both... The gimmick of the channel is that I find a wiki as a subject I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. You do the same. My approach when I'm finding a wiki is... Usually, if it's something like specific that's been on long enough or has a big enough fan base, there probably is a wiki dedicated to it. Like today, we recorded an episode about Johnny Bravo. Johnny Bravo's a very popular cartoon. There is a Johnny Bravo wiki. That is, and normally I'll skim through the wiki just to make sure it's well written, and there's enough stuff to talk about there. And same for like superheroes. The Marvel wiki is usually the best one because it's usually the best research, best written, and has the powers and abilities section. Because that's realistically what we're looking for, right?
That's the thing, is usually my way to go about it is Google topic that I want plus wiki.
Yep.
Then if there's more than just the Wikipedia page, have a quick glance through any of the potential fan wikis that they might be on. Like, it could just be something a bit more generic, like a heroes or villains wiki, something like that.
Which is quite good. The heroes villain wiki is quite decent.
And just generally see, like, well, the Wikipedia ones are generally better written and a bit more concise, but maybe sometimes there's a lot of, like, fun, additive trivia and stuff, like with the Marvel wiki, where it's written pretty well.
And the whole impetus for the channel is the very dry, matter-of-fact way Wikipedia articles tend to be written makes for an interesting juxtaposition against the off-the-cuff improvisational riffing we do on it. And that's like what the impetus for Wiki Weekends was of. The really dry way a Wikipedia article is written, sometimes it makes a very silly subject sound fun. Like I think the first we did was on like the Fire Festival, right, on a podcast years ago. And just the very matter-of-fact way it's written is humorous, said out loud.
That was the first episode we did. The first one we trialed on a podcast via just, again, like the improvisational method that we go by was when we talked about Pokemon Go on a podcast. Yes.
And I think, like, it's just when you're going through, like, the legacy of Pokemon Go, it just casually mentions, oh, yes, people walked into traffic. And just the very matter-of-fact way that's written is it's surprising and therefore humorous.
Yeah, the way that it was talking about how stampedes of people were running through cities to find Snorlaxes, but it's
Yeah.
saying it in a very matter-of-fact way.
Almost academic, yeah. So in that vein, when I'm looking for wikis, we often get suggested to go look at the Transformers wiki because it's written in a way that's funny. But the problem is, most of the people writing on a wiki aren't funny. And that's the thing I want to say. Like, when the wiki, the reason that I think the format works is because when it's the juxtaposition of us joking about something that's very dry and almost like the almost academic way a wiki's written, and the more specific and granular the subject, the funnier it tends to be. But when there's in-jokes and intentional humor there, it's kind of lost.
It's really hard to make our own jokes when somebody's already making the jokes on the wiki, whereas when we just have the matter-of-fact information, that's when it's more on onus to us to be able to improvise around that.
Yeah, and like sometimes like the amount of granularity there can be funny, and similarly sometimes just the lack of any actual trying to think of the word now. Sometimes the fact that there's not like, you know, a follow-up to a piece of information, like when they were doing a Marvel wiki and it just randomly says like, oh yeah, this character was bitten by a vampire, and it just doesn't clarify what that means at all. That can be very funny, right? If like we're just reading like, oh, Jubilee was a vampire for a little bit. What?
Yeah, sorry, I just found like some dog food on my chest because I was like panickingly giving Cade his meal while sorting everything out. I was like,
and
what?
What's the mystery of how Cade tries, of why he's looking for like chocolate on the desk is answered. Of like, you just have food on you while you're working.
Like,
he knows your workstation is
like
full of food.
putting dog food in a Kung for Cade before I came up and did the podcast. But yeah,
that's our approach to wiki. Hopefully that is explained well. It's very difficult, but just you know it. And by this point, we've been doing this like on and off like 4 years now. So, and there's not that many wikis out there, but you can kind of tell at a glance if a wiki is going to make for an interesting episode or not. Even if it is on a wiki that we've used before, like the Marvel wiki. If a character, for example, I don't know, I'm trying to the fact it's an obscure character, I don't know, like Beak or something like that. That right. X-Man who was in like 4 comics. He's not going to have a very long wiki, so it's probably not going to make for a good episode. But likewise, a character like the Phoenix Force, because the wiki is so long, but the powers and abilities section just they can do anything. It's similarly not going to be interesting. You kind of just got to guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those, generally the quickest way I've found nowadays to have a rough idea of whether it's going to be like good or not is it super short or is it super long?
Super long.
Avoid
somewhere in the middle is what you want, right? It's a nice sweet spot.
You do want that little sweet spot in the middle, like the Goldilocks, yeah.
Yeah, and then you want like paragraphs and subheadings. You know, look for those subheadings, and like just sometimes the subheadings can be hilarious.
That's one thing we've mentioned about like why we do like DC, but we tend to talk about it less because the DC wiki normally just states facts but doesn't go into any explanation behind them. It doesn't give normally doesn't give like evidence and examples.
Yeah, and the examples are normally when it's, again, with at least in regards to superhero ones, that can be quite funny. But again, sometimes not having an example can be funny when it's something like I said, just this character was a vampire for a little bit with no clarification.
But if the entire wiki is every single thing is just, well, they're strong and powerful, it's like, okay, why and what examples have you got? I was like, just when it's like, oh yeah, for example, Superman has super strength.
Okay, give us some stupid examples.
But then with the Hulk one, it'll be, the Hulk has super strength. He can lift this amount of weight. He's in this power class. He's once, like, punched through time and space. It's like, thank you. You've given a bit more, like, in-depth analysis.
You've given us something that we can use the jumping-off point for an interesting or fun conversation. But the real answer is, like, by this point, we've done it long enough where we can kind of tell. Like, you can just, at a glance, tell. It's a very niche skill, but it's one that we've both
like very specifically acquired by doing this over a few years now. Yeah.
Yes.
And then someone else, Nathan on Twitter asked, "Do you either of you ever edit any wikis if you see wrong or poorly worded information?" And I don't know about you, but A, I don't, and B, I think a lot of wikis nowadays, because they've learned, of lot editing permissions behind certain barriers and stuff anyway, so not everyone can just edit it.
Yeah, so I don't do that again for the reasons you've mentioned, but what I do is Wikipedia. Every time they have one of their like pledge drives, I do feel compelled of like, well, we've made enough money off Wikipedia. I do bung them like 20 quid every time I see like them asking for money. So I'm contributing to Wikipedia, just not in a material way. Well, I guess I am in a material way. The material's money, but I'm not adding to the knowledge. I'm just helping like maintain the infrastructure that keeps it free and available to all.
And then last one related to wikis. What's the dumbest wiki you guys have checked out and either decided not to do or haven't got around to do yet, but plan to? That is from Spawn Hades on Twitter.
Okay, so I've just like maintained just a bookmark thing on my book, a folder on my bookmarks. What would you call that? My bookmarks, I guess. And that's just full of all the ones I want to talk about. And the one that's been in there that I know is silly, I've just not gone around to yet, and it's because I'm scared, is the Omnitrix on the Ben 10 wiki. Because for some reason, the Ben 10 fandom is fucking weird. They're really weird about people making fun of Ben 10, even if you do it in a tongue-in-cheek way.
And
so even though I know that would probably be a popular video, I'm scared to cover that one.
We did like cave and talk about Digimon via request,
and that wasn't worth it.
The moment we spent 2 minutes ribbing on Digimon at the start, that's maybe our like worst video in terms of like to dislike ratio, and multiple people immediately commented, "I'm never watching your content ever again."
Because how dare you give the most gentle of ribbings to this franchise I base my personality on. And Ben 10 is a similar one to that.
Let's stop arguing in chat, everyone. Keep it civil. We don't need to. We can just be nice. Let's ignore just all of this jazz. Just
there we go. I've just put everyone on a timeout. There we go.
No, calm down. Like, I would never advise people follow any like either veterinary or medical advice from a chat that you've seen online, regardless of what they claim. I don't know where I was glancing at chat and saw this going down. Just a piece of advice of like, you know, anyone online can tell you anything. The Google AI is balked because people just make up fucking random responses as jokes on Reddit, and it thinks it's legitimate answers.
It's like, hey, how'd you get a cheese pizza to be sticky? It's like, oh, glue.
Yeah.
It's like, how many rocks is it safe to eat a day? At least 5.
It's like
stupid, right?
Just make sure you source your information properly, and let's not get into arguments in chat. Let's just keep it civil.
Exactly, yes. But Lucas, that's mine. It's like just that Ben 10. I know it'd be an interesting video. I know there's some wild stuff on there, but I know that even if me and you like open the video by saying, "Hey, we're both fans of this series. We watched it when we were younger," but there's probably going to be some sillier stuff on there that we're going to laugh about. It doesn't mean we don't like the show. Even with that clarification, Ben 10 fans will be like, "You don't actually get this show super good."
Yes, yeah. And my example that I was going to talk about is the one that we have teased people with, but also have been advised not to cover, which is Warhammer.
Yep, we have an in at Warhammer. We know a guy who works for Games Workshop, and he literally has told us don't talk about it.
We asked, we were like, yeah, but what if we take something like really simple, like basic, like just the Space Marine?
The Space Marine, yeah.
We clarify that we don't really know, but people want to hear us talk about it. And even then, he was just like, no.
He just did like the Jonah Hill, just
yeah. The don't do it. Don't. It's not worth it. Again, like the Digimon example of just some people wanted us to talk about Digimon, and then it was that case of like, even though we clarified 3 minutes into the video or whatever, when I was like, Carl, stop being mean to Digimon, and you were like, oh, I'm only having a laugh. That was a couple minutes in, 2-3 minutes in, and even then there was already a massively just negative comment and dislike ratio on that.
Well, we got messages like privately on our social medias from people like, how dare you make fun of Digimon? I can tell you're a fucking loser. And it's like, really? I'm the loser here. Cool.
And yeah, Daniel Stocks just with a £5 super chat. Thank you very much. What mythical creature do you think you could fight knowing the lore of it? And
quite a few, because most mythical creatures always have like the gimmick that you can use.
Depends. Do we get prep time, Carl?
I guess so. It's like even like something as scary as Medusa, if you know the gimmick,
if
which
you've
is
just got like a mirror.
or Percy Jackson when he uses the back of his phone.
I was about to say,
Well, you
we've
might
got
say
a
that
phone
one
in our
uses like
pocket.
an iPod. They use an iPod, right?
Do they? Fucking
I
hell.
think it's something like maybe it's the back of a Zoom. It's one of those moments where it dates the film, but I'll say even something as fearsome as a Gorgon could be defeated because we have the extra universe knowledge of how it's defeated, right?
Yeah, that's the question. Like, so we go into the fight knowing the lore, and that would imply that yeah, there is some level of like prep time, knowing that you could fight it. Like, yeah, it would be quite easy to, I guess, like find something that I could mirror the reflection of a Gorgon, and
I guess something without prep time, maybe like a basic baby bitch vampire, if it conforms to all the rules of weaknesses that it would
well, you
have.
could just walk in your house.
Yeah, such as like just being in my house and not letting it in.
Yeah, just being like, nah, bro.
Not
I
letting
mean,
it
at
in.
that point, it becomes a waiting game, right? Then you do get your own prep time because you can do research while
Yeah.
they can't come into your house.
Exactly, yeah. So as long as you can conform to the rules of, or if it conforms to the classical rules of its mythology, almost every creature can be defeated because that's kind of the point, right? Of the hero that goes and defeats the creature usually finds the secret way to defeat, like the Hydra.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess
every
like,
head grows back. Just cauterize them before they do.
you might struggle with maybe like a werewolf, but then at the same time, that can just be a
Silver.
waiting game until it's no longer a full moon, and then you can just try and kill a person.
And Silver as well. So I think one of the best werewolf movies is just Dog Soldiers, where the guy just beats one to death with a fucking frying pan.
I mean, that's fair, but like I don't know personally, at least in my own scenario, a werewolf and Silver. I don't think I have the knowledge or the equipment in my house currently. If like there was just a werewolf outside to be able to craft any kind of like silver thing that could be used as a weapon, I don't have much
That's
like
fair.
jewelry or, to my knowledge, like silver items in the house just knocking about, or the ability to like, you know, if I wouldn't have the knowledge to like smith that into some kind of weapon or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You can tell it to go away, though.
I don't think that works on werewolves. Werewolves don't need to be invited into that.
I bet within canon of like the myth that they were introducing, I bet there was a really stupid way to beat a werewolf. I'm going to put in werewolf weaknesses right now, Luke, as you go on to your next question. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. I like one of them where it was like I saw like a TikTok and it was going around. Oh, sorry, clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, it was just a TikTok making fun of like different weaknesses of different people and just like how many weaknesses vampires specifically have.
Oh, there's so many. Vampires are useless.
But then it was like, oh, well, you know, what's your weakness? Like a mummy or whatever. And it was like, oh, fire. Yeah, but I was just thinking about like everything's weak to fire, enough.
Most things don't like being set on fire. Spoilers.
Like,
and weirdly enough,
not really a weakness to mummies. Everything's pretty much weak to being set on fire.
Yeah, and here's a weird thing as well. I'm looking at unlike a lot of other mythological creatures, the werewolf only has a singular notable weakness, which is silver. Although there are some supposed plants that it does not like, such as the aptly named wolfsbane, which is often used as a cure for lycanthropy. Although it depends from myth to myth whether or not it can actually harm a werewolf when they're in werewolf form.
What if, Karl, it was a scientist werewolf or like a botanist werewolf that named that plant?
That's true.
Maybe they're just trying. Oh, well, wolfsbane's clearly going to stop the werewolves.
No, I thought of it. Someone in chat just mentioned it, Lucas. Chocolate. Get a fucking Toblerone. It's a dog, innit? Get a Toblerone. Done. So yeah, there's probably a few creatures.
But yeah, it's one of those like things of just. I do think like most mythical creatures. One thing I don't think I could take out, even with like knowledge. I don't know if like unicorns have weaknesses.
I think they're really fast. Like unicorns are supposedly like almost entirely bulletproof. There's almost no way to kill a unicorn because most myths about them are not about killing them. It's about earning their trust because they're like a more benevolent mythological creature, unlike something like a dragon. which
And
in most myths is at the very least like they're neutral.
and as well, think about it. Like, if you've got a magical horse that can't be killed and you piss it off, horses could take you out so easily. Just
Oh,
like,
absolutely, yeah.
even without the fact that it's got like a horn or magical abilities, a horse could just cave your head in the second one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, it's like in like Cabin in the Woods, isn't there? There's that like guy who just gets fucking wrecked by the unicorn.
Oh, is there? Right.
He just charges into him, yeah, horn first and kills him.
I never watched that movie because I don't watch horror films, and somebody when it came out told me it was a horror film, and then I've come to know of the last couple of years that it's meant to be like a parody on horror films, right?
Yeah. It'd be actually be a good wiki to cover because there's
Mm-hmm.
a really great behind the scenes documentary about all the monsters, and some of them are legit just the thing from another movie because they managed to get the rights, and then other ones are more just okay. This is like this guy looks like Jason Voorhees, but he's not Jason Voorhees, but he's representing that genre of villain.
Mm-hmm. And just yeah, Game of 13 online chat mentions like the Scottish national animal is the unicorn to
Mhm.
like one up the English lion, and then the Welsh get a dragon. And like, help me in chat or Karl. I vaguely remember as well that the Irish one is also better, or the Northern Irish one.
I think the Northern Irish one's just a pint. It's a snake drinking a pint of Guinness, right? I love that as well. Like, oh, St. Patrick got rid of all the snakes, and then you always have some dickhead go, "But snakes don't live in Ireland." It's like, why do you think
Yeah,
exactly?
not anymore.
We don't. We do
anymore,
have,
they
we have
don't.
snakes in England, which means that St. Patrick sent the snakes to England, which is such an Irish move. I respect it.
Mm-hmm.
Just send all the snakes. What's the next question one for her?
Well,
That's an
Daniel
interesting
also,
one. That.
Daniel also like taking over with super chats. Another £5 super chat asking, are we going to get Fat Fiend live again? And
No.
The live events are like such a big time and money sink that
They never made any money.
Happening. Yeah.
No, not a single one made any money. They all broke even or cost the Fat Fiend coffers money. They largely existed as an avenue to just meet fans and hang out with people who support the channel. But they were a ball ache to arrange. They took months of planning and numerous just logistical ball aches on the back end.
And it was one of those of we were okay with like it being that for a little while, but then also the bar that we were in conjunction with and partnering with ended up closing anyway because
it just shut down. Yeah,
it was like the landlord didn't want that bar back. It was nothing to do with like the bar itself, but just yeah, they had an asshole landlord, surprise, surprise, and they just were like, really sorry, we can't host this anymore, and that meant that we were essentially getting like mates rates with them, right?
Yeah. And then also there is the fact of COVID happened, which basically just killed any momentum that might have had in a crib. So there's no desire to ever do one again because all I can think is like that would just be 3 months of my life arranging a single night out. And I'm in my 30s, it already takes me that long to arrange a night out.
Yeah, just to try and get all your friends at the same place at the same time, right?
Like I'm hanging out with a friend of mine. It's like, ooh, let's go on a night out. And we booked it 2 months in advance. That's what it's like being in your 30s. It's like, and on top of that, I've got to do a work night out. It's like, I'm not doing no work nights out.
I was like, wait, in my head then for a second I forgot, and you said work night out. I was like, wait, have I got to do a work night out? What's going on? It's like, no.
It might be a Wiki Weekends one though. If Wiki Weekends really, really takes off.
That's the thing, right? Is like feasibly in the future if we got a big enough audience, but right now Wiki Weekends itself does not.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lump you into this question because they do specifically ask me, but it could apply to either of us. Blade of Spade on Twitter asks, I'm just wondering if Lucas has any tips when it comes to video editing, and you also now edit half the content we make anyway, so...
Yeah, the way Wiki Weekends works. You might not know. It's a good way of, like, if people maybe don't realise all the work on Wiki Weekends, we try to split it as 50-50 as we can. That's why Lucas presents one video, I present another one, and we both edit our own videos, and then we co-host the podcast in the middle of the week.
Mm-hmm. And like, there's things like, for example, I edit the podcast and deal with that side of things, but Karl takes a bigger like leap on the side of like moderation on the Discord and stuff to try and help me out with, just balance of our time and work and stuff.
Yeah, we try and split the duties as evenly as we are able to. And yeah, any tips for editing from yourself?
Um, that's the thing, right? Is because if anyone's unaware, I got brought onto the channel essentially as mostly a favor from Karl, but also you just need an
This is the
extra
original
hand.
Packaging channel, yes?
But original Fat Fiend channel, yes. Back in the day, years ago at this point, where just like you were looking for an extra hand and you knew that I wanted it out of my job. And you were like, look, it's a fairly simple video editing style. Like, you can pick it up and learn. So I'm not particularly well versed in video editing, but
That's the thing we should clarify, yeah, because
Mhm.
almost all the content we've ever made is possibly the easiest editing gig you could ask for, of a single static shot of a single person, and that person specifically tells you you don't need to edit it well. So fact fiend content was by no means a difficult or tiresome editing process, which is why I felt comfortable bringing you on to help with it, because ultimately all you need is just drag and drop the audio and
I knew how
sound.
to do like the drag and drop style of editing videos. I'd like made some like high school movies with my friend and stuff and knew a bit about editing that way, but again wasn't qualifying myself as like a video editor like Brad and Nisha, like literally got, you know, qualifications in that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the style of the video made it so that I could jump on and learn pretty easily. But the one thing that I would mostly say is when you have the time to experiment around with different things, just give it a try, because if you're using something that's a editing suite, for example, like I use Adobe stuff, generally speaking, most of it either has like really good tutorials or is just relatively simple to use and try out. And I think it's just one of those of every time I try a new thing, I've either just it's a quick Google away, or it's just there's a tutorial on there. And I think just it's one of those of try and just experiment around a little bit to widen your knowledge base. It's really not that hard when, as I say, if nothing else, there's always a YouTube video.
Yeah, it's like it's difficult for us to offer advice on this because we're both entirely self-taught, and
Hmm.
we're self-taught for a specific style of video that requires almost none of the tools a decent video editor would have in their arsenal.
Hmm. But, for example, just learning extra elements of, like, for example, when I would try and incorporate jokes in with the green screen with
Yeah,
Fat Fiend stuff, where Carl's arm is pigmented a green screen color on purpose so that we can mess around with it. Carl would also get green screen colored shirts to be able to make jokes that way as well. And sometimes it's a case of like, oh, well, you know, one time I just was messing around with all the different things and learned that there's just a tool that you can drag and drop in there that helps get rid of the green screen reflection that
yeah,
bounces off the green screen and stops the person being washed out in a green color.
which turned me into a shadow man. And
Just
that's the thing, right? Of like, it's very difficult because I think the same with writing and stuff, because that's probably something I've got more experience with. Is just it's difficult. I feel bad giving advice because what I do, I don't consider to be all that difficult. Because
Mhm,
and as well, I felt ass backwards into it and self-taught. So as a result, I probably picked up a lot of bad habits.
mhm.
And that's why I would not feel comfortable giving advice, because I would give people the advice of the bad habits I have grown accustomed to over a decade.
Yeah,
And
right.
the way I edit is probably not the most efficient way to do it, but it's the most efficient way for me.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of like tips and tricks for myself, but I would not necessarily consider them advice for other people, because you don't want to, if you're learning from scratch, go learn from a professional.
Yeah, and I think one thing we can both clarify, though, is in the sense that editing is quite monotonous, doing little things to try and make the process more fun is always a good piece of advice.
Yeah, but if you're doing it just for a job, then that advice doesn't really apply.
I
The
mean,
only thing I
it
will.
still can, depending on what the job is, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you're, depending on the company or client or whatever you're working for, if you can make a fun edit, they might appreciate that.
Yeah,
But again, that's not applicable to all scenarios once again.
Yeah. I think the one good piece of advice I can give, and I think this is something that I didn't invent it, obviously, but it's something that when I work with other people and I mention it, they always go, I never thought of that. And that is when you are going to sync up video and audio. If anyone's ever wondered why like movie studios or movie productions have like the snapper, that's to sync up audio and video. To sync up the clap, So a common way that audio and video is synced up, at least in content creation, is just to clap for the camera. And what you do is you sync up the sound of the clap with the visual of the clap on screen. But something we do is we tell a knock knock joke. A very simple knock knock joke of knock knock.
Who's there?
Let us.
Let us who?
Let us in. It's cold outside. And we do that because syncing up the clap is one thing, but that allows you to sync up the cadence of a conversation.
And we use that one joke every single time.
Every single time. I think I've probably told that joke about 1,000 times now.
Mm-hmm.
But a knock knock joke has the cadence of a conversation. So you sync that up as well. Because sometimes, you might not get the exact right frame, the two hands come together, but your ear is better. Your human nature it's easier to listen out for the natural flow of a conversation than it is for trying to pinpoint the exact frame of two hands come together.
You know what? I do have one piece of advice to get advice from though.
Which is?
It is to hunt down, I'm almost certain it's Justin Wong editing tips video of how to change your keybinds so that every single useful tool is all on your left hand, available to you on the left hand side of the keyboard, so that you never need to move your left or right hand. You've got your right hand on the mouse at all times and your left hand on that left area of the keyboard. And that is immediately the video that I watch to stop myself having to go, use the full keyboard for all the keybinds and shortcuts and stuff that are, common. And then the moment that I lost my SSD and all my settings reset and stuff, I hunted that video back down immediately because
it saves so much time. You might think it only saves you a couple seconds per time, but if you're using those keybinds a dozen times per video when you do 3 videos a week, you've saved 10 minutes. And then if you're doing this as a job over the course of a year, you've saved yourself 4 days.
So yeah, I believe it's Justin Wong's video on recommendations for key bindings for the editing process. I think it might be specific to Adobe, but obviously the same tools are pretty much in any editing suite.
Yes.
But yeah.
And that's a solid piece of advice. But that's one of those things of if you're already deep in the weeds of editing, you don't need our advice. But if you're just starting out, that's a very good one because you've not learned any habits yet. So if you're not learning any habits yet, you're the perfect blank slate for that advice, because you're not going to be stumbling. You're going to be stumbling around your keyboard anyway. At least this way, once you get into the swing of things, like you said, you won't have to move your left hand. You're going to save a couple of seconds here and there every time, and over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, it adds up.
That's the thing. Those shortcuts that I'm pressing over my one video edit, I probably use hundreds of times between all of the different random keybinds that I've got. So add up all those 1-2 seconds hundreds of times over hundreds of videos.
That's over a course of a video, you probably save yourself half an hour on every video that you do, and that's in video editing, you very often get paid by the edit, not by the hour. So anything to save yourself time is always worth it.
Better for long-term things in terms of carpal tunnel and shit like that.
Which is the other advice I'd give of just do every half an hour of editing. I stand up and I do 10 press-ups or 10 squats. I also have a weighted hula hoop. I use that as well.
Thank you for that question. I ended up going on a lot longer than we thought, but a couple of super chats coming in, so thank you. We got a $4.99 super chat from Seth Inflamed. Just cheers to Funny Number Special, hoping for an episode on the wiki for the train wreck movie that was movie 43, and that's actually a decent suggestion.
I mentioned my bookmarks bar. It's on the list.
What
the movie not want to do it? We'd have to put clips in, and I don't want to watch the movie again. So there's a thing, like a general rule of thumb me and Lucas have is if we're going to do a Wiki Weekends episode where we present it and it's like got clips in, we do it on something we want to like either we've watched recently or that has a more visual component. Likewise for the podcast, we pick things that are more discussion based. Movie 43 will probably go better in the Wiki Weekdays podcast purely because I don't want to put clips in. Because I refuse to watch that movie again.
But that
But he's on
might
the list.
actually make an interesting one for a podcast, just so that we don't have to A, watch any clips ourselves, and B, enforce anyone else to have to endure those moments.
And I am aware that the movie does have a very interesting production because I researched the wiki recently. I did it recently.
It had so many people. Like, there's the joke, isn't it, of like, whoever the fuck made movie 43 must have had shit on every single person in Hollywood, because holy fuck, they got everyone in.
The production on it's more interesting than the movie itself, and the reason I was aware of it is because I was researching movies that took more than 5 years to get made, and that movie took 5 years to get made. Because they had to basically just work around people's schedules. You know what? That's a topic for another day.
It is indeed. And then $10 super chat from Stand with Ackman as well. Thank you. Just hello to my favourite fact givers. Random question for you guys. You're planning on getting Sparking Zero, which is Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero for anyone that's unaware. Would love to see you guys in a match. Anyways, have a wonderful day. Thanks for streaming.
Yes, myself and my good friend Sam absolutely adore anything Dragon Ball related. We both plan to get it day one. And he's going to come around to my house, bring his PS5 and a spare TV, and we're going to sit down and play some Sparking Zero with each other. Because we used to play Raging Blast 2 when we get pissed, because I met him at work, and we bonded at work after a work night out, where he'd come back to mine, and he's like, is that Raging Blast 2? And we stayed up till 5 in the morning playing Raging Blast 2.
The further and further Cole got into that question, the more I felt
Did you think it was you? Did you think it was you?
No, just the fact that I got left out.
Well, no, that's the thing. Do
I
you want to come to
also
my house and
love playing Raging Blast 2 and played it loads with you.
Yeah, but do you want to come all the way to my house and play it?
I might
You
not.
can if you want. You're invited.
I don't know whether we'd make content out of it or anything, but I am planning on getting Sparking Zero. Like I don't necessarily think I plan on streaming it, because it's probably similar to the Budokai Tenkaichi games of just, it's a game where it's just about having fun smashing action figures together.
Yes.
It's not that deep, but I'm super looking forward to it and definitely getting it.
I can't wait to style on Super Saiyan Broly 3 with Kui. Every time my friend like sends me a message like, "Ooh, like there's a new character being revealed," or "Here's like the new character trailer," I just send back a picture of Kui.
Because that's the thing, they recently did a Majin Buu characters trailer, and it's like, oh, all these really cool characters, and then there was like one jobber in there. I'm like, yes, the jobbers are in.
Because the jobber's the ones you want to play as, right? So people are like, oh, people always moan about Dragon Ball games not having like fucking Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan 8, Vegeta. I'm like, no, where's a pool? Where's the choice between short-haired Videl and long-haired Videl? Where's Goten?
But like, where's Pan?
They're the ones you want, the fucking jobbers no one likes, right?
God, yeah, you're right.
So I don't want Frieza. I want Frieza Form 3, the one that was only in one episode.
Yeah, it just looks like they've gone, look, we all have had enough time away from like the Budokai Tenkaichi series to admit that
it was kind of lame. It
was a bit lame, but it was dumb fun.
Yeah.
And we have the perfect Dragon Ball Z Fighters game because we have Fighter Z. We don't need to worry about the backlash of just giving you the dumb one.
Yep.
Let's just give you the dumb one in like the, amazing graphics with all of the brand new characters that have come out over the past like 20 years.
Go smash your action figures together. Which I will.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to win with just, like I said, Kui.
Hell yeah. And these super chats are paying for us to both get a Sparking Zero. I'm very appreciative.
It's all you pay for. It gets delivered day one, baby. Let's go.
And then just another one in terms of just general behind the scenes channel stuff of any future plans to bring in people as guests on the channel by B2M on Twitter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just we need to figure out who we want on to talk first.
One we've already mentioned, and we have attempted to badly reach out to so far, and would like to make more efforts to talk to, is just somebody from the Death Battle team.
We reached out to them like a week or so ago. Maybe we'll give it another week and then do the classic of like the follow-up email of like, hi, not sure if you saw this.
We're very aware that we are shooting our fucking shot when it comes to like, they were like 6 million subscribers on YouTube, but maybe somebody from the team might be interested in like, not necessarily the people running the channel, like, you know, like it might not be Ben or Chad, but we're massive fans. We have spoken about this a lot, and they've recently just had the exciting thing of like being able to become independent for the first time, and we just thought it would be a good time to shoot our shot with that.
My bet, I'm gonna put all my cards on someone behind the scenes being a fan of Fact Fiend. Because someone behind the scenes must be a fan, right? Because
can I just send up a follow-up email of one time Chad retweeted our video because we mentioned that we were a fan? Like, please come and join us. But again, you have to approach them from like a perspective of a peer and not just, hey, we're big fans, come be our podcast. Yeah, so personally, I follow quite a lot of different YouTube channels and stuff that talk about games and the gaming industry and stuff, and big one I've mentioned before, or not a big channel, but a lot bigger than us, that I would like to collaborate with at some point is the team over at Kind of Funny Games.
Well, how many of them is there? Because could we beat them up?
There's like 11 of them, Carl. There's 2 of us.
How many do you think you could take out?
None.
Damn it! I can't beat up 11 people. Okay.
Most of them are like taller and bigger than me. I don't think I could take them. But yeah, just there's a lot of other channels and a lot of other people I've got on like a list of people I would like to collaborate with, but that would be like my personal first answer that I've spoken about previously.
Yeah, and I don't really follow many online content creators, so.
And that is the trouble, right? Is that you want to be careful about who you collaborate with. There's that thing of, say for example, just an example. Sure, he's a lovely guy, right? That guy Beam guy that got horribly accused of all these messages to minors. Dr.
I don't know who you're talking about.
His real name's Guy Beam. Dr. Disrespect.
Oh, okay. I didn't fucking know.
Yeah.
You did that well.
No, I'm sure we've discussed that, right?
I don't know the fucker's name. I just know he's a prick.
Oh, yeah, he's a massive asshole, but like, there's people that have collaborated with him that I've seen getting called out online for like, well, how dare you work with a guy that was like messaging minors? It's like, but I didn't know. It wasn't public information when I made that video 4 years ago. And I hate you, you're a prick. Why would you be friends with that dude? It's like, whoa.
And that's the problem, right? Because the moment you've done that with content being evergreen, it just means that a new person will discover it. Hopefully, the hope will be with all content is on any given day, someone's watching it for the first time. The problem is if you collaborate with someone who ends up being problematic later, or you discuss a subject that happens to be problematic. Like there's a bunch of stuff on Fact Theme where we mentioned Harry Potter, because I was a huge fan of Harry Potter. And I think I had to go back through the descriptions of all those videos and just put a little pinned comment of like, we made this before she went crazy.
Or because we publicly get angry crazy, comment. Right? Like, I'm not going to pretend like she wasn't this awful person beforehand. She clearly must have been, but she hid it better back in the day.
Yeah. And it's like I had to go through and put a pinned comment because I'd periodically get a comment of like, I can't believe you're talking about this subject when like you don't mention the transphobia. It's like, look at when the video was published.
Yeah. A couple more super chats, Carl. Like, we're getting treated today. Thank you everyone for your support. We got Galactic Matthew with a $4.99 super chat saying, "Hi guys, watching this while eating my first uni student dinner, 2 sausage rolls." And that is...
What was the first thing you ate at uni? Because I think that's like a rite of passage, right? When you go to university, of like, what's the first thing you eat after moving in?
The one thing I had in the flat when we moved, like my parents had bought me a lot of pans, pots, plates, cutlery, all that jazz. And then also just left me with a Costco, like, 10-kilo massive, like, resealable thing of rice. My first meal at uni was just a bowl of boiled rice. Poorly boiled rice that was mushy because I didn't know how to cook rice at the time as well.
I didn't know what my first meal was, but I didn't know my last meal. Because when I first moved in, my dad he cleared out his cupboard and gave me like just a bunch of old tins out of the cupboard. One of the things he gave me was a tin of fruit salad from before he and my mum divorced, which was 5 years prior to that moment. So what I did is I grabbed that and took it to university with me and just never ate it. And then when I moved properties, realised I still had the tin of fruit salad. So I said, as a joke, I'm going to keep it to my last day of uni. And on my last day of uni, when I graduated, I had that tin of fruit salad in my pocket, went to a nearby pub, cracked it open in the pub, and just downed it in like a big syrupy shot. Is everything all right, your end, Monfrere?
If you could just take over for a minute, I've just had a bit of a long message, so I just need to...
Okay, here's Lucas Reese in the message then. Well, where's the list of questions that you sent me? I'll go through the next question.
There's another super chat from Daniel Stocks, if you...
Oh, there is, yes, saying, my girlfriend loves your content. Just want to say I love you, and that is the last money I can spend. It is. Go spend some money on your girlfriend.
Hell yeah.
And Lucas did send me a list of all the questions earlier. There we go, perfect. So, okay, next question from Kinbeat on our Discord. You can find the link to that below. What is your favourite fact bit of knowledge that you wish you didn't know? More recently, it's the stuff about microplastics. We did a fact-themed video about microplastics, and I thought it was going to be funny because the pertinent piece of information I learned that I thought would be a good jumping-off point for a video is there's Disney merch at the bottom of the ocean, which I learned while I was researching a script about the Marianas Trench. And it's like, oh, there's a bit of there was some trash at the bottom, and it was a Disney balloon. And when I was researching extra facts for that video, I found out that microplastics are fucking everywhere. They've been found in the air, in the clouds, above mountains. It's been found in the testicles of dogs. It's been found in the lungs of newborn babies. They've been found in volcanic fissures 1,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. They've been found in the Arctic. They've been found in Antarctica. They've been found in like primordial ice that melted and then refroze. They've been found everywhere on Earth, and they're even in the aqueous humour of your own eye. I wish I didn't know that, because I just sat there and went, there's plastic in my eyes.
There's plastic in your testicles, Carl.
I'm more worried about plastic being in my eyes, because it's something specific about stuff being in your eyes.
I mean, my eyes are already fucked and on the way out anyway, but...
It's got plastic in there, mate. But
yeah. I mean, that's one piece of knowledge, right, that I would not have liked to know, is that I always got told as a kid, hey, your eyes are going to keep getting worse for now. When you get to your mid to late 20s, probably going to level out, and you probably won't need to update this prescription all the time.
Yeah.
And then a few years back, it was like, well, with the rising prevalence of everyone staring at a bright screen every single day of their life, we actually don't think that's true anymore. And what do you do for a job? Oh, stare at a screen all day? Yeah, your prescription's probably going to get worse for the rest of your life. And I was like, all right.
I did offer to fire Lucas when I learned this, and he said it's okay.
Just like, oh, great. I thought I was safe at this point. I'm 32 now. I thought I was like curving off that. It's like there's no curve off anymore.
No.
But yeah, the other piece of information that I wouldn't like to have known was Dave Grohl's confession that came out yesterday night. I'm just like, oh god, no.
It's just the thing
Dave,
as well.
why?
Like, the fact that he announced it means that you know someone was threatening to leak it, right?
Yeah, right. And it's like, oh, for fuck. And then after that, people coming out like, oh yeah, the whole like Good Guy Dave thing was like a rebrand in response to the fact that he fell out with like his ex-wife and bandmate because he was cheating constantly on his first wife. It's like, I'm a big Foo Fighters fan, and it's like, god damn it. And
you still again, like, you were happy before you knew that piece of information, right?
I was like, that's when it's something like fucking Lost Profit. It's like, I want to know that because I never want to listen ever again. When it's like, well, he's kind of a dickhead who cheats on his wives. It's like, oh man, it's like it's not going to stop me enjoying the music, but like, oh,
it does make you less likely to hit play on one though, right? As you're scrolling.
Same with like the like when Jack Black recently like ended the tour and the fucking ended the band over a joke, and it's like, come on, man.
I did find that funny though, because someone says the biggest Like, a president got shot at live on TV, and the biggest fallout was Tenacious D breaking up. But either way, yeah, it's like, they do say ignorance is bliss.
It
And
is
yeah.
very, and that's the thing is, there's levels of it, right? Is like I would want to know, as say about like lost profits or someone like J.K. Rowling as far off the fucking rails as she's gone publicly over the last few years. Like that's the kind of level where I want to know. When it's just, guess what? They're like not a loyal person to their partners. It's like that's shit. That is awful, but
it's not illegal.
it's not illegal.
Being a
and it's
dickhead's not illegal.
really affecting many people outside of that small sphere, right? Like, so there are different levels to it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as somebody that, somebody that, for example, like has a fucking Chili Peppers tattoo, and that band has done questionable things at best.
No,
like,
Anthony Kiedis has done.
No, I think a few of the band members have.
It's normally him, though, right?
It is mostly him, but like it doesn't. Again, I think for a lot of those people that probably have like fucking Harry Potter tattoos, is at the end of the day, if you can feel comfortable knowing that you don't necessarily have to like the tattoo because of the person that created the content, you can appreciate what that meant to you, and that's why you got the tattoo. Like
it's divorcing art from artist, and again there are levels to that, and some people can, some people can't, and there are certain levels of shittiness that you're able to tolerate, and that varies between person to person. And it's only on the most extreme end is where I'd start to like question someone's inability to be like, hey, come on.
Yeah.
Like I said, the whole thing like Hulk Hogan, someone mentioned in chat, like endorsing Trump. It's like, okay, he was a piece of shit before, like people overlooking like the racism and stuff, but like there's a limit to the amount of like bollocks you can tolerate for someone before you're just like, okay, it's onto a trash heap. There's plenty of other stuff out there where I don't need to have this kind of person.
There's plenty of decent people out there, or at least as far as we know, decent people to support, rather than the people that we actively know are assholes.
Exactly, yeah. But interesting question, but just
yeah.
Some things you just don't want to learn, right? And if you have the list in front of you, but I've still got it if you want me to.
No, I can say back over for now, yeah.
Okay.
Just Pampas on Discord, which is a good name. Does any one of you have any tips or advice when it comes to writing articles or essays?
No. I mentioned this earlier, I don't like giving advice on this, even though it's been my job for a decade, because everything I do in regards to writing is probably a bad habit I specifically have picked up that I'm used to, but would not like to give to somebody else. I would not like somebody else to pick up my bad habits.
That's fair, yeah. And
go learn from someone who's qualified to teach.
I was going to say, that was kind of my only piece of advice, and I was just left that in to know whether you had any kind of different insight, is just honestly like taking some kind of classes.
Yep.
In it, depending on what your age is, what your education level is. Just I learned most of my abilities to write articles and essays from like learning, English lit, English language, and theatre studies at school, where these people are literally trained to sit down and teach me what is wrong about my writing, and
yes,
what can be improved, and what I should what my strengths and weaknesses are. And if you can take that feedback from somebody that it is more knowledgeable and knows how to give that feedback well and listen to it. Like, I think one thing that I always remember is that when I was studying theatre studies, when I first took my first exam in first year, I think it was, I got an E. So I got the lowest possible non-failing grade, which is basically a failure to anyone's eyes. Yeah, Americans skip the E, right?
They go straight to F.
They go straight to F. I got it was like 40-something% score on that test. It was bad, and I kind of then remember resitting that test, getting the feedback from my teacher and stuff, taking all of that advice and knowledge and coming back, retook it, and I got like an A star on it. And I got like 98% or something on the resit. And I just remember walking out knowing like I had my results in my hand. And I was so ready to gloat to my teacher of like, fuck you, I proved to you that like you didn't teach me well or something. And then they were like, no, I already know what score you got. I'm really happy. Well done.
Yeah.
Like, and I realized in that moment of like, no, we've been working together and collaborating together to like improve my writing
Score.
and improve my score, not that they were the enemy that fucked me.
And viewing them as the enemy is how you end up not progressing or growing. And I guess the only advice I would give is I fucking hate those things where it's like, oh, these 10 tips to make you a better writer, because there's no shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, my career has been a decade. I have written literally thousands upon thousands of articles across a variety of subjects, and prior to that, I wrote dozens upon dozens of essays in university, which themselves went through dozens upon dozens of drafts. There is like 2 decades of knowledge there, and the foundation of my knowledge was 7 straight years of education where it was drilled into me. This is how you formulate an argument. This is how you research. This is how you get across a point. This is how you succinctly, summarize something. This is how you research. This is how you collate ideas into itself.
And yeah.
So any advice I would give is go do that 7 years of education. Which is not really the best advice, right? Because when you give someone advice like that, it's like, well, I don't want to do the 7 years. I want to get to the end point. It's like, you can't. It's work.
It's a rough thing, right? And I recently remember just literally the last couple of days, saw some of my family members and mum was like, some like technical stuff, right? Like, well, yeah. She's like, oh, my like friends of a friend or something has like a really good job opportunity going if you know what that like this Unreal Engine thing is and how to use it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I did study some video games development like years ago at uni, but like I don't specifically know how to use Unreal Engine. I wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, just learn that. And I was like, well, if this is a really good job opportunity and they want somebody who knows how to use it, not something I can just like Google and learn over the weekend.
Yeah.
That's just going to be years of experience and learning, right?
And that's why I always feel bad giving out advice, because, yeah, any advice I would give would feel cheap, and it ignores the fact it took me, like, I said 7 years in, like, higher education to, like, formulate the foundation of what my eventual writing career became. And then that writing career was literally thousands upon thousands of articles honing the craft and the voice that I would use for my content. The only advice I can really give is just keep doing it. And if you've not had the basic tuition to help focus that work in the right direction, like someone in chat mentions working out, and it's similar for working out. If you ask like a huge buff person, like how'd you get like that? It's like keep lifting heavy weights, but before you do that, get taught how to lift them in the right way,
and probably
your
learn a bit about nutrition and stuff like that as well, right? Just where I think like a lot of people maybe don't see the correct point in personal trainers and stuff like that, is that a lot of the time someone might mock a PT for not being in like perfect physical shape. You see it all the time online, right?
Well, they will have perfect form,
and also they'll be able to identify problems with your form, and they normally have some level of knowledge about, like, they either are a nutritionist or have some level of qualification in knowing how to like correctly like build a diet behind what you're aiming for.
Yeah, it's like, and the idea behind a PT is you won't be going to a PT for 5 years. You'll go to a PT for 6 months, and once you've been there, you can use that knowledge for the rest of your career as a rest of your life working out. Same for like writing. Of best advice is go get some classes. Or if you've already had those classes, maybe just refresh your memory.
Yeah. And it kind of leads on to a question from someone who's in chat right now, Eric D. Red,
Yes.
where they just ask if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were 18, what advice would you give? And I think that's one that straight away, one of the parts of the conversation I would have is like, yeah, make sure that you're more open to learning and that you don't know everything. Like, I was, as an 18-year-old, quite in that mindset of like, well, I'm clever, I know what I'm doing, I know so much, and it's like, I really didn't.
Yeah, and for myself, I wouldn't. Because I had this conversation the other day with a friend where we were talking about in regards to sponsorships. Like for fact, so we got a sponsor for an upcoming fact theme video, and he's like, "Do you ever regret not getting more sponsors back in the day?" I went, "No, because if I did, I don't know where that would have gone, and where I am right now, I'm really happy." So I really don't like, and I think dwelling on the past, as bad as it was, I'm in a situation where I'm happy. And the worst, one of the quickest ways to ruin happiness is to sit there and think about what could have been. Because I've been there. I've been there in that situation of like moping around, thinking, "Oh, things could be better if I did blank." It's like you can't change the past, and dwelling on it can really mess with your mental health. And it's taken me a long time to come to terms with the mistakes that I've made and also the choices that I've made for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a situation where I'm happy with the choice that I've made, for better or worse, because I'm sat here in a house that I own, doing a job that I love. I could be earning more money, but thinking about that and like ifs and buts ain't nothing but nuts. Do you need another minute more prior?
Just bear with me 1 second.
No problem. I'll go on to the next question we have then. So, blah, blah, blah. So we have a question here from Ratafix on Discord. What fictional universe would you want to live in the most? Probably one where like stuff's all right? But there's not a lot of fictional universes where there's no strife or conflict because most stories require conflict to be interesting. So probably the one that I'd most likely want to live in would be like Star Trek, stuff like TNG. Because that's like it's a post-scarcity society. And there are problems, like there's occasional skirmishes with other races and stuff, but for the most part, TNG is like, it's space communism where there's no scarcity anymore and you can just fly around in a spaceship and all your wants and needs taken care of. And humanity, it's a post-racial society as well. There's no bigotry, there's no like judgment of those who live and love differently. And it's an incredibly tolerant society where the focus is knowledge and progression. It's probably that.
It's pretty much like the universe as far as I'm aware, because I haven't watched much of Star Trek, but it's, apart from like the conflicts that crew specifically get themselves into, it's essentially what everybody sees as an ideal utopia, right?
Yeah.
Apart from
it's as close to a utopia
as shit that don't want everyone to be happy together.
Yeah, and then there's some series where there is conflict in the past or the future, but for the most part, it just seems to be the chillest universe, or fictional universe off the top of my head.
And one off the top of my head is that I guess I've got two that are both Nintendo related. One, of course, I'm a massive fan of Pokemon, and I would love those creatures to exist. But the caveat being, if the Pokedex is accurate, that could also be a terrifying world to live in because there's 1,000+ creatures out there with terrifying different levels of power.
The thing you got to remember is, though, no one in that universe dies.
But that's the thing. The way that, for example, if you watch the anime, every fucker is happy all of the time.
Yep, you never see a sad person in Pokemon except for that one kid. Who's
except
like
for that one kid that got carried away by the Drifblim. Like, nah! Please. But I think maybe the more like reasonable answer to give where that isn't a possibility that Dugtrios could like walk past your house underground, dig past your house underground and cause an earthquake, is just the world of Animal Crossing.
Oh man, the worst bit is about Animal Crossing. What about if you end up on an island with Rodney?
That's the one thing is that
would you have to beat him with a shovel?
You have to. There's still judgment in Animal Crossing in the sake of people can dislike you for being an asshole. But in terms of you get a good, positive life, and there's no, there's no ideals around like, well, all these animals are hunting each other or segregated in any way. Like, every single species lives in perfect unison and is governed by one fucking like raccoon.
And you can buy a house and pay your mortgage by just finding beetles.
And
have a TV shit like an apple.
Tom Nook never charges interest on a mortgage and never asks for it back by a certain deadline.
Nope.
Like, if you literally say to Tom Nook, okay, I'll take a mortgage and I'll never pay it back and you'll never see me again, I'm just going to live happily on this island, Tom Nook's chill with that.
Yeah. Because when you die, you'll get your house.
Yeah, right? Like,
that's a good choice. That's a good choice. Like, nothing ever seems to go wrong on that island. Plus, well, you can have a Switch. You still have your Switch, so you still play Smash Bros.
Yeah, true. Did you see recently?
And Elijah Wood might visit your island.
Elijah
you might meet Elijah Wood.
You might meet T-Pain looking after his wife. Yeah. But did you see recently something very applicable to both of us? There was a Games Radar article where Masahiro Sakurai, who created Super Smash Bros., apologized for making Smash Bros. Because he was like, I'm aware that some people have spent hundreds or thousands of hours in Super Smash Bros. When they could have been doing anything else. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, I love that he's like got. I saw that framed as like a negative thing. It's like he's obviously joking, right? Because it was in a speech about good game design where he talks about how it's not most game designers make a game where the goal is to make people play for a long time. Whereas my focus is to make a fun game that people want to play for a long time. I'm aware people have played Smash Bros for hundreds of thousands of hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, there's another kind of question that ties in with this theme.
Okay.
I like as well. In this one, I'm called Lucius.
No, maybe they'll try to say Luscious Lucas and just combine.
Maybe just melded it. But Quiet on Twitter asked, by the way, if you are watching this, I'm aware that like it could have just been in autocorrect or anything. Don't worry, I'm not mad. But you and Lucius have been teleported into the reality of a comic, movie, TV, game, whatever you want. Still do your current job now. No special powers, re-rolling stats. You're just regular people in that world doing a normal podcast. What reality would you want to be in?
Animal Crossing. You just said it.
Well, no.
I would start a drama podcast. I would rebrand it to a drama podcast, and we just flame Rodney.
That's what I was gonna say. We'd
start a cyberbullying campaign against him.
Like, what would we frame it as title-wise? Like, the podcast is called like The Real Rodney.
No.
And we actually start just spinning webs about the shit that Rodney's got up to on different islands.
You know those thumbnails you see about like those fucking parasites trying to coast on the Mr. Beast drama, and it's like Mr. Beast's face with fraud.
Yeah, like the truth about Mr. Beast is like the truth about Rodney.
The truth about Rodney, and we just like. Do you know what people would do when you play Animal Crossing? They would gift your islanders like SS uniforms.
Oh god.
And just remember that. I mean, you'd rock up to your island when you were like after a nap, and like your islands were wearing SS uniforms. Like Rodney was wearing an SS uniform, having none of that.
I did miss that one specifically.
Do you not remember that when people were doing that?
I didn't see that one. No.
Yeah, one of the ways people were trolling Animal Crossing is designing like little suits with a little red armband and then gifting it to visiting islanders. So randomly you'd be there one day and just like one of your islands wearing just an SS uniform.
Oh, it reminds me of one day I was like, there was, you know, just the classic fake glasses, nose, mustache thing.
Oh yeah, like the Groucho Marx thing.
Yeah, and I bought that and then ordered like 10 of them because you're allowed 10 people on your island. So I bought one, ordered more. The next day, like 10 arrive, I go speak to every person throughout the day and give them the gift, and they put on the fake glasses, nose, mustache combo, and then I show Jenna how funny it is that they're all walking around with the fake disguise on, and then like weeks later, she turns around and is like, "For fuck's sake!" It's like, what? I went over to your island, and somehow the trend of wearing those has spread to my island because your island has told my islanders about the trend.
And that's why people were doing like the thing with uniforms. Like people were making like little mini like clan uniforms and gifting them to their islanders. Because like, never underestimate the creativity of assholes. That's if they apply that level of foresight and creativity and effort to like actual goodness and putting more positivity out into the world will be a better place. But they don't want it to be a better place. They want it full of like just tiny little like takoyaki people wearing clan uniforms.
And to move to my answer
Swiftly on.
swiftly, I figured that I was inspired by like something where there is a podcast in it already,
Cheers.
and I took inspiration from the video game Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Oh, we could do.
We
start
could
the J.
be.
Jonah Jameson podcast.
We could start like the opposite version of the J. Jonah Jameson podcast, where in that video game, J. Jonah Jameson has been like changed. So instead of a newscaster, he's been fired by the Bugle in Spider-Man 2.
He's just
and
Alex Jones.
He's just an independent podcaster ranting and raving about how Spider-Man's this awful prick. And I'm like, man, we could be in that universe where we start like the anti-Jonah podcast.
I'd start the Anti Danica podcast. Her podcast is
What's
terrible.
I mean, other than being a boring podcast, Danica's done nothing really wrong.
The problem with Danica's podcast is that she makes up more stuff than J. Jonah Jameson. So let me explain. So, in the Spider-Man 2, where she comes into the game, Danica's podcast, she seemingly has extra universe awareness. So when, like, you get the black suit and you start running around, like, destroying shit, J. Jonah Jameson rightfully calls out, he's a menace, he's a vigilante, and he destroyed a bunch of stuff. The Danica podcast, she starts, because obviously she seemingly, we know that Spider-Man's a good guy and that you were saving people. No fucker else knows that. They just know Spider-Man rocked up wearing a black outfit and caused a bunch of collateral damage. But then she says, like, no, Spider-Man was saving people. Which makes sense to us, but if you're anybody else in that universe listening to that podcast, she's straight up making shit up.
Right.
She's just as guilty of applying her own biases to what the situation's happening in the world as J. Jonah Jameson is. The only reason she gets away with it, or people don't notice it, is because we know as the player that she is right, but she has no way of knowing that she is, and she speaks with such confidence and authority. I don't like that.
Like, she's speaking with the knowledge that the player has and what Spider-Man has. But there's no way that she would know that for sure.
Yeah. But then she speaks with such authority and confidence on matters that if you go by the logic of the in-game universe, she shouldn't have that knowledge. So she's just as bad as J. Jonah Jameson, but she doesn't get called out on it. And that's why I'd create the Anti-Danica podcast.
So that means me and you, are we competing podcasters in that world where, like, I'm against Jonah would be like, and you're against Danica?
Well, that's the thing, was always a pretender to the throne.
But then
right?
we have collaborators where it's like that we're the truth tellers of that universe. These two people lie.
Well, that's the thing, there's always like, whenever there's a big content creator, there's always someone trying to rip him off. I'll be ripping off J. Jonah Jameson. But I would specifically aim my target at Danica. We'd probably be enemies in that universe.
I think we'd be like enemies and collaborators at the same time. Like we'd collaborate for extra drama.
Yeah, we'd be enemies in public, but behind the scenes, we'd just be like, we don't believe any of this shit.
Yeah, we're just milking this for money. Yeah. But
speaking
of milking this for money, I need to take a quick break, Carl.
Okay, well, we can take a quick 5 minutes, right? And go refill my water bottle anyway.
Yeah, so I've finished up my drink, and I'm like, my throat's getting a bit raspy, so I'm just like, let's take a break time. Feature good old Aussie, our pet of the week.
Perfect, right. Back in a minute. Right.
Hello, everyone. There we go.
We back.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just making sure that I get an update on the pupper and he's doing okay. Just gonna be, spending the night at the best, just under observation and stuff. So hopefully
He's gonna come back like Mike TV and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He's gonna come back 4 foot longer.
he's just gonna come back trying to eat more fucking chocolate now and alright.
It's like when I have chocolate, I get a holiday. Nice one. Let's go.
But anyway, Carl, have you got any housekeeping for us just before we move on swiftly?
Besides just plugging the usual,
Mm-hmm.
it is 9/11, so I guess I'll plug my stream. And last few times I've streamed Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, I've come in pissed because I've been out with friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I've like the stream's gone on for like an hour, and I've just looked at the thing and gone, "I'm too pissed. I'm going and order a pizza." Like that won't happen this week because I'm seeing my friends on Saturday, not Friday.
Okay. And
So I
what
can
will you be
promise that's not
streaming?
going to happen this time. I'll be streaming Friday, 8 p.m.
What will you be streaming?
Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Oh my god, that's such a different thing.
What a surprise!
Just Carl streams it every week if people aren't aware. But yeah, I'm sure most people are. And for myself, tomorrow, if people are aware, I don't think anyone will be aware. I don't know why I said it like that. But there's like a new regulation H, I believe, in competitive Pokemon, where they're like, "Hey, we let you have fun with all your like big, bright, fucking dazzling, legendary Pokemon that are all bell ends and ruin the game.
Let's have real Pokemon.
We're reining it back in. Charger Bug is going to be viable again, so I'm getting back into competitive Pokemon again because I hate all the OP shit where it's just focus about using all the big legendary Pokemon. It's like, but it's more interesting if I can bring a Charger Bug and fuck around with like random things that people might not see as like the 3 big obvious Pokemon that are super meta.
Yeah, so what you're saying is you'll be playing Pokemon tomorrow.
So I will be playing Pokemon tomorrow, and I've like had some thoughts about some teams. I've had my Switch just nearby, just grinding some money away for me.
Sylveon's working the pole.
Indeed, and just I'll hopefully have a couple of just ideas for teams and stuff that I can put together. And I'll be doing some like competitive Pokemon playing tomorrow over on my Twitch, which is Legend of Kanto.
There we go.
And also, just I remember to mention like my Patreon poll got tied between like talking about House of the Dead or Mega Man for this month, so I will be posting a poll in the Discord. Maybe just like if I remember tonight or tomorrow, just tiebreaker vote. See what we vote on, and then it'll be either me making a video on House of the Dead or Mega Man. But yes, let's move back on to some questions.
I'm ready.
So a couple of questions here about traveling, Carl.
Okay.
Ratfix in our Discord asked, what's the biggest culture shock or best experience while traveling abroad?
Biggest culture shock is America. Not being able to walk anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. Like even when I was visiting my girlfriend at the time, we lived in like, a little cul-de-sac, a nice, shady, like picket fence and everything, cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the nearest store? There isn't one. You got to drive to it. What do you mean? Say tomorrow I want to go get myself like a sandwich while you're at work. Where do I go? Well, the nearest store's 3 miles away. Can I walk to it? Well, you can, but you got to walk over like an 8-lane highway to get to it. And just what you telling me? There's not like a corner shop. Like the nearest shop to me, I can see it out my window. Even in bumfuck nowhere, there's a shop that's a 5-minute walk away in the UK. That one, and then tipping. They've been like not tipping. It's that trying to pay for a drink in a bar and only pay for the drink because they try and open a tab. It's like I bought a beer. Do you want to open a tab? No, I'll pay for it now. And they give me a card, and they take your card and they leave it on the back of the bar. And I'm like, no, I want to pay for my drink. I don't like the idea. Or they'll take your card and walk away and swipe it. It's like, no, bring the machine to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think my missus like took him out. It's like, no, it's fine. It's like, I'm not going to let a stranger walk off with my bank card in a foreign country. This is like tourist 101 they tell you not to do.
Yeah, exactly right.
Just the fact that no one over there finds it weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like maybe the biggest culture shock I've had, the only place that I've been that's outside of Europe was Japan. And it's almost like the opposite to you, where the biggest culture shock I had was how there is always a train all of the time and they run
Yeah.
so well. And I was like, every time we like miss a train, it's like, oh, because in the UK, that's like, wait at
Day
least
ruined.
20 minutes. It's going to be wet, windy, cold, probably delayed or cancelled,
Or both.
or both.
It'll be delayed and then cancelled.
Yeah. It's going to be super inconvenient. And then in Japan, it's like, yeah, there's 1 2 minutes. And it will run on time every time.
How much is a ticket? Like 200 yen.
And
Quid.
if there is a 1 minute, no joke, if there is 1 minute I saw a delay, there will be an apology on the like timeline and a reason why there is a 1 minute delay.
And you'll get given a little card if it's a 5-minute delay, because transit over there is so well timed that you can plan to get to work a minute before your shift starts, because you know that if you get the 9:58 train, it'll get you there at 11 past.
Mm-hmm.
Or whatever. Like it's that specific. There's a 5-minute delay. You'll get a little thing.
Yeah, it's like it was the opposite of what your experience with America was, where everything was so efficient when it came to public transit, and
I can't get over how car brained America is.
yeah, it was wild to see, like, kind of where in the middle, right? Where we have a lot of infrastructure for public transit in both like buses and trains.
It's just wank.
It's just shit, yeah, and it costs quite a lot. And it's a lot of the time more efficient, and most people nowadays do everything via car by themselves anyway, because it's just way more, especially time effective, not necessarily always cost effective, but it's getting to the point where it's so expensive it's way more cost effective as well. And it sounds like both of us kind of had, like, you know, those opposite experiences of just like, Japan is the opposite end where cars are basically fucking useless for most people, and America is just trains and buses are mostly useless.
I said I could not get over the fact I'm in this really nice leafy cul-de-sac. Where's the nearest store? You got to drive to it. It's 4 miles away. And when I asked, like, why don't they just build a store in the middle of this? That way, you can just walk and go get milk or bread or some eggs. Oh, the HOAs who build these things veto them because they don't want it to ruin the aesthetic of the area. Is it? What do you mean ruin the aesthetic of the area? They just want all? I would rather there be a pub nearby or a restaurant nearby than someone else's house, because I can't use someone else's house. I can use a pub. I can use like a communal swimming bath or not race course, like a sports hall, like a place to run or something like that. No, you drive to it. And then there's all people driving to get shit faced, to get a cab back, to get the car.
And just, yeah,
Wild.
it's one of those crazy things of like, I just can't get over the fact as well, as you say, that there's no infrastructure for walking, even if you do want to walk those distances.
I said, yeah. It was what I said, but what do I do in the middle of the day then? What do you want me to do around the house? Can I go for a walk? It's like you can, but I think the first jog, and like we got someone knocking on the door of like, well, who's this? Who's in your house? What? Well, there was a guy running around the neighborhood earlier. Do you know anything about it? It's like, yeah, it's my boyfriend. He went for a jog. And like, oh right, well, one of the neighbors saw something. Is he okay? What's he doing? It's like, no, he went for a jog around the neighborhood. Why? So you're paying all this money to live in this nice area, and then you don't fucking use it because you spend 90% of your time either asleep or driving 8 miles somewhere else.
Yeah, and I also think just best experience, like there's a myriad of experiences in Japan where like it's my favorite place I've ever been to. I also did, just to like not only talk about Japan,
Getting drunk in Disneyland Paris has got to be one, right? When you told me they sell wine in Disneyland Paris.
Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Just being drunk in Disneyland sounds like such
you
an
get
experience.
up at like 7 o'clock in the morning to make sure you get to the park nice and early. Get to your park, like you spend what 7 till maybe 3 to 5 p.m. making sure that you go on all the rides, see the parade, stuff like that. Go for drinks for a couple of hours, and then you've got all like the last couple of hours to sneak in on the last couple of rides, and then watch all the fireworks and stuff. And you could do
it's
like,
more like just getting plastered and having like an officially branded Mickey Mouse shot glass full of tequila past you. Sounds amazing.
But I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say I did an experience in Hamburg where it was like an experiential thing where you basically walk through as what a blind person experiences. So everything that you don't get a blindfold or anything put on, just every single room is complete darkness. Like even when your eyes adjust, complete fucking darkness. And they had two options. It was either dining in the dark or walking through this experience. And we went for like the walkthrough one, and it was just, well, okay, now deal with that. You know, they give you like the canes and stuff, and just deal with trying to walk over, like learning different textures on the floor, what that means, like learning all the sounds around you, like being able to listen out for cars and traffic light signals and stuff. And it was just a really different experience and a really unintended, like eye-opening one of just, here's what it's like for, like, you get to experience an hour of this, but this is how some people have to live
their entire life. I know I'd eat shit second one if I did that.
Well, that's the thing, is they were very careful of, like, they have people
with night vision
goggles who...
Oh, actually they do, okay.
Yeah, they literally have people in night vision goggles touring you around, making sure that everybody's safe. But, like, doing a thing where you, like, stepped over stepping stones on a river and things like that, and it's, like, it's really stressful, but it's a good thing to, like, see somebody else's perspective, quite literally.
Yeah.
Anything for you that you can think of, like, a best experience abroad?
I guess it's just one of the funnier ones is when I was in Belgium with my friend Sam, mentioned earlier. It's like the guy I'm playing like lots of Sparking Zero with. We went to Belgium. It's famous for beer, right? Let's go on a beer tour. So we went to a brewery and went on a beer tour, and they walked us around and they showed us all the vats and stuff. And like, it's interesting. Like, it's 1,000 years old. And then at the end of a tour, you get a free pint of beer, which is what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the bar, and you're expecting in Belgium have like 1,000 choices, right? We got offered Stella. In Belgium,
but
they offered us a pint of Stella.
Different Stella to what we have in the UK.
It's different over there. Yeah, it's different over there, but we couldn't get over the fact like in Britain, Stella is like it's called wife beater.
It's
piss water. Had a fact video about the fact it's called wife beater. That's like his nickname.
It is known as one of the lagers that is essentially just piss water because it's that bad.
Yeah. And in Belgium, they still have Stella, but this is like actual good stuff. This is the stuff that they pretend the shit in England is. But it was just really funny when we go on this entire tour. And we have Stella or Stella Dark. And we were just like, are you fucking kidding us? But he was very nice.
Yeah. That was one of the funniest experiences I had living with a few exchange students from Belgium for a little bit.
Oh, I love this story.
First night that we were all in and decided to, like, you know, everyone had moved in over the week, and we decided Friday night everyone should be here. Everyone who wants to, we should all like meet in the communal space, and there was like a dozen of us. We should all just have a bit of a get to know you session and have some drinks and stuff. And there was 3 girls from Belgium, and they came back with the drinks, and their drinks was like a 24-pack of cans of Stella Artois. And they were like, oh. We were like, why the fuck have you got Stella? Again, over here, awful reputation. They were like, it's Belgian beer. And we just pointed out to them on the side, like, yeah, but look at it. And it says, like, brewed in the UK.
Brewed in like Bristol or something, right?
Yeah, and it just says brewed in UK, I think, but then they were like, yeah, but it's still Belgian beer, it's still good beer, it's still stellar. And then they all like cracked open their first can and started drinking it and went, oh, this is not stellar. Oh no. Oh no.
It's when as well you just see like it's second one, just the regret.
Yeah. And it was a very funny moment. Like, no, don't worry. This is Belgian beer. Belgian beer is good. And they tasted it and was like,
With 24 cans of this shit.
And then, yeah, they had to spend the entire night, all three of them committing to just drinking this entire crate of Stella. But yes. And then just another question from Eric Dured from our Discord of just favourite countries and or cities to visit. And I think mine encapsulated there is just like, I fucking enjoyed Japan more than any other place that I've been to by far.
Doncaster. No, I'm kidding. What do you fucking Doncaster? Chicago. I quite like Chicago as a city. Chicago as a city was really nice, as was Philadelphia when I visited there.
Yeah. I really like we did the kind of long holiday tourist thing of like do the 3 bigger cities in Japan of like, well, there's a few more, but we specifically chose like doing Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, and also stopped along Nara on the way, which is the one
the deer.
The deer. You feed the deer, and
I've been there. Yeah.
Like,
did you pet any of the nubs?
Oh yeah, like Nara was
nubs?
Just such an unforgettable experience where
they crossed the road and everything, right? Did you bow for them?
Yeah, of course, bow. Yeah. And then I also got a video of this like teenager having just to give up their shopping because a deer annihilated them. I'm just like, instead of helping, I was like, no, I'm just gonna film this.
There was one of me because I'm quite tall, and then in Japan I'm very tall.
Yes.
And it was like the deer just didn't want anything to do with me except for like this one old deer who saw me as a threat. And there was like a series of images of me stood there, and like there's 3 images. One me stood, I look up to the camera and I go like that, and then the deer's just going duff, 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 just into my knee, trying to set me out. It was like, oh, sorry, little deer.
There's a series of pictures where it was me taking a picture of like our friends that we went to Japan with. Yeah. And there's a woman with like 2 deer in the background giving them crackers. And then the next picture is like there's 3 deer next to this woman.
Oh no.
And then the next picture is like there's 5 deer surrounding this woman. And then the next picture is, forget my friends, I'm now documenting the diary of this woman slowly getting surrounded by deer.
Let's have a look. I've got the like here's just like the aftermath photo of just the deer. I'll have to focus the camera a little bit. Let's have a look. Just the deers just gave me the
And they literally have like warning signs across the city of
don't feed them.
Don't mess about. Like, you can feed them, but just be very fucking careful. Because some of this deer, they will get aggressive.
They will, yeah, because they don't like being fed. Like, no, they do. They're saying they like being fed. Stop fucking messing with them.
Yeah, they do. They don't like not being fed. If you give them one cracker, they will start to like follow you around for more and get very annoyed when you don't concede.
Yeah, that's the thing. But like, I didn't give a fuck. I was walking into the middle of the road and started petting them. I didn't give a shit. I was crossing the road barriers to go pet these things. I didn't care. As much
as there's, that side of the story of like they will get aggressive and stuff, most of them don't, and it is like completely unlike anything else.
It's also as well like I'm not going to start. Here's like a little Japanese kid who's like yelling at me for touching one. He's like, "Stop it! Stop petting the deer!" I'm going to pet the deer. You're not going to stop me. I do what I want.
Obviously, like some people may not appreciate it, but obviously that entire like town or city or whatever it's classified as, like it thrives off the tourism that is both the deer and the very old, like it's like the giant gates and the temple that they have. Like the gates itself to the temple are like potentially the oldest wooden structure still intact to this day.
Yeah, it's like it's a wonderful place. It's just that thing that they put those signs up. It's like, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
And I wasn't a dick. I pet the deer.
Like you'll fuck around and you'll find out is the answer. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, and I specifically as well only fed the very old deer. So they put the cute ones must get fed all the time. So I sort out all the old grumpy deer, like the ones who are lying down in the middle of the fucking road. That's why I walked into the middle of the road and fed one. It's like, don't go into the middle of the road. It's like, well, the deer is.
And yeah, moving on to some gaming related questions, Carl.
Let's go.
Ever played a Metroidvania game without getting lost, having to look up a guide?
All of them.
That is from Sand133 on YouTube. I'm not sure how to say that username, but yeah, thank you.
All of them. If they're well designed, you don't need to look at a guide.
One time, I had
Was
to
it
look
red?
up a guide on Super Metroid.
Okay.
One moment. Can you
Which
guess
is
what the
all-
one moment is on Super Metroid where I had to look up one solution?
Oh, was it putting the power bomb inside the pipe in the water to get into Madeira?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the only time in the game you ever have to do that. That is very obtuse. I don't know how I knew that, but I knew that from childhood.
And there is
So I've
the
never
hint
struggled.
of the broken pipe, but I don't
Yeah.
think that's enough of a hint because
It's
every other obstacle where you have to get through the entire game teaches you there's color-coded doors.
Yeah, it's the only one in the game where it's not signposted. So I will admit that is very obtuse. But I already knew how to do that from being a kid. Maybe as a kid I did look up a guide or had a guide or had someone show me that. I'll not know because it was probably happened 20 years ago when I was shown. But any well-designed Metroidvania will not require a guide unless you have like 100% completion or something.
Never had to with Metroid Dread until I started learning speedrun shit. And I don't overly play any other Metroidvanias aside from Metroid games. But essentially, yeah, just every Metroid game, I've never had to look up a guide apart from that one singular moment in Super Metroid where you powerbomb the pipe.
And you feel like an idiot, right, when you look it up? Oh, of course, yeah, makes sense.
Generally, the ones that I've played at least have been very well signposted, if not annoying. With like Metroid Fusion, the one annoyance I have with that game is that it constantly is like, here's the objective, Samus. It's like, these games are meant to be explorable.
I've done this like 15 times already, Adam. I've got this.
But yeah, I haven't yet had to look up a guide on Hollow Knight, but I'm only like 5 hours into that game, and not as impressed as people make it out. Like, just because one of those things of like expectations, right, is I'm now going in with the expectation of like, this is one of the greatest fucking games of all time.
It's a video game people have spent the last 5 years basing their entire personality around. There's got to be something here, right? Like with Undertale, I saw it straight away with Undertale. As soon as I heard the music and went, okay, this is something special.
Thing is, just Hollow Knight, whatever the bug thing you play as, I know you're not the Hollow Knight, I've had that like explained to me at least, but the character you control doesn't feel satisfying to control.
Which is a shame, right? Because that's
the entire reason I like playing Metroid games.
It's the appeal of the draw, right? How much like ass Samus hauls.
And just Samus feels relatively good to control to start with, and then becomes better and better to control over time. Whereas so far, I have a dash and stuff, but just none of it feels very good yet.
Yeah, I don't think there's many things in gaming as satisfying as with Samus doing like the Aeon dash through the air and then doing the Aeon dash into a parry in midair, getting the entire game slowing down and then just unloading like 14 super missiles into like a monster's face.
But one here. Move on to from Chance Mayers 8502 on YouTube.
Okay.
What is your favorite game or piece of media that you haven't brought up in a video before?
I don't think there's many things that I play that I've not brought up. Maybe Call of Duty. I was a huge Call of Duty head. I'm like a massive, actually probably more than people would expect. I fucking love first-person shooter games. I play them constantly. They are my go-to game to play when I've like got nothing else to play. I recently re-downloaded like Overwatch. It's like, well, I just want something to play. I just want to play a shooter, but I don't often talk about them because there's not really much in the way of, there's not much meat on that bone for a discussion.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, like, I don't talk about Destiny much compared to how much I play Destiny, but that's just because I know that it's, like, quite hard to make content out
Mhm.
of with it being such a deep universe, but you having such a surface level knowledge. Like, it's hard to explain to you why the stuff in it is cool to make
Yeah.
content out of it. Um, but I
This is with me as
guess
well, be Monster Hunter as well, for the same reason.
mhm.
I probably played Monster Hunter more than any other game. Never talked about it on my channel because
One
that's
that
my
I've
thing.
not covered, I don't think, and
Is
even really talked about, is one of my favorite game franchises that I just kind of play, love, and then forget about is Ratchet
of
and
course.
Clank.
Oh yeah, just know why? Because it's just a good game. You're happy for 20 hours, and then you're done.
Yeah, I play a Ratchet and Clank game. I'm like, that was great. I love Ratchet and
Good game.
Clank. I'll wait until
High
the
five.
next one comes out, and then another one comes out, and I'm like, cool, that was great. I enjoyed
Yeah.
my time. Let's go and
There's
play
probably
another
like
one.
yeah, there's probably like a lot of games like that. Maybe not even a series, but just games that I really enjoyed that I just never talked about on my channel. Like one's Medieval. I fucking love Medieval.
Hmm.
Like good old Daniel Fortescue. No, Sir Daniel Fortescue, excuse me, his proper title and
Sure.
name.
Yeah, but like
Like,
considering how many Ratchet games there are, I've probably almost never mentioned the fact that I've basically completed every single one multiple times through.
I never gotten that far. So I'll say I didn't even know you were that big a fan. I knew you played them because I know you're a big fan of platformers.
Hmm. No, yeah, because the game encourages like replayability with having a lot of the time it has a new game plus option where you
With
can
all go past
upgrade your level of your weapons past the like max and stuff and get like extra upgrades and stuff. So I normally have beaten almost every Ratchet game at least twice.
Yeah, I think it was like a game that's for us both, which we have talked about, but not as much as we. The amount we've talked about it would probably not reflect how much of it we've played. Like Borderlands, we made like one
Mm.
video on Borderlands, but me and you have played through Borderlands probably like a dozen times in totality each,
Hmm.
including like a full playthrough together on stream, similar to like Gears of War. We mentioned that
Yeah.
probably that once. I played like every Gears of War game multiple times. Same for what's the other game I was going to mention? Not Halo, because I played all the Halo games, but the Halo Wars games. I'm a huge like RTS fan. I play shit some RTSs.
Yeah, Civ is one that I've put a lot of time into and never really spoken about, and I occasionally really get into Fire Emblem. Haven't really thought about that.
I'm scared of Fire Emblem. I'm
It's
scared the
real
moment they told me it's like you can pick your waifu. I'm like, no, don't.
fun.
It's not that thing. Like, don't. I can't.
Don't
I'll
do
not play
it.
anything else.
But speaking of Fire Emblem, Carl,
Okay.
um, Monkey King 9863 on YouTube asked, "What IP do you think should have a Warriors style game?" And obviously there was the Fire Emblem Warriors game, and I think there was a Fire Emblem like Three Houses Warriors game as well. I think they had two.
So this is like Dynasty Warriors then, yeah?
Similar to Dynasty Warriors, where it's like Muso games, right? Where just you're one character or a couple of characters on a field where you're defeating thousands of enemies.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, a Metroid one would be kind of fun. You
Mm.
mentioned Metroid. Like, it's like, I'm not sure how many characters you could realistically put in.
Well, that's why my answer was going to be maybe just try a Super Smash Bros. Warriors.
That could work because we've already had like a Zelda one,
Yeah, like they've
right?
done Zelda, they've done Fire Emblem, and just it'd be really cool. As much as I really appreciated Hyrule Warriors for pulling out things like you can be the fucking king of Red Lions. Like I love those little pulls on like Ravio and stuff and Tingle, but just like fuck it, here's 30, 40 different like mainline Nintendo characters where you can be Samus, Mario, Link, Pikachu, and you're all just taking out army of just different generic like Nintendo-esque villains like Goombas and shit.
Yeah. I think one that from a franchise that I don't think has had much play lately would be Soul Calibur. I think Soul Calibur, not Wiki, but we've not talked about on Wiki Weekends, but a Soul Calibur one, especially with the gimmick of the game being trying to capture the Soul Edge, because they always talk about there being a huge war for the piece of Soul Edge. But you don't really get to see that. You just see individual battles. And I'm just imagining as well, you get Voldo and just like fucking penis roll across the battlefield and take out like 5,000 enemies.
Yeah, Soul Calibur is definitely one that like neither of us really talk about as well. Just
But it's a fun
that
game.
we're
It's just
really
not had a
into.
new game in years.
And also just the newer ones for me got a little bit too just complex.
They added too
I
many systems.
guess. Yeah,
There was too many systems in Soul Calibur 6.
there was
Where it
too
was
much going
always
on.
there was always a beautiful system of rock paper scissors of horizontal, like vertical slices beat horizontal slices, but and then horizontal slices beat sidewalking, but sidewalking beats vertical slices, and then kicks beat vertical slices.
And then grabs as well.
And grabs. I don't know the exact, but basically there's 3 types of attack, and they all directly counter each
And
other.
there's a couple
It
of
was
like
perfect.
sub attacks, like kicks and grabs. Yeah,
And it was perfect.
like I mean, just talking about Nintendo, like the reason that I got into Soul Calibur was just I'd originally, admittedly, when I was on a hospital ward, played like a bit of like Soul Blade on the PlayStation, but didn't ever remember what it was or anything like that. Then it was just, hey, there's a GameCube game where Link's in a fighting game. What's going on? And
Yeah,
yeah, it was
best throw,
Soul
right?
Calibur 2.
Yeah, the best throw because it threw you over his shoulder and it always ringed out.
And he also just had like
bow and arrow.
multiple different ranged options, like bombs, boomerangs, arrows. It's like, what are you meant to do?
Nah, man, it's all about Necrid. Todd McFarlane. Necrid.
I thought it was a Spawn, wasn't it?
Spawn was in the Xbox version, but Todd McFarlane also designed Necrid.
Oh, Necrid's a Soul Calibur character he designed.
Designed by him, yeah. They put Heihachi in it and he just punched everything. What a ball of fucking move, right? And I think his ultimate weapon, because his weapon was gauntlets, his ultimate weapon was just called Tekken, and it's just his bare hands.
Never forget that they put Yoda in the Xbox version of Soul Calibur 4.
He was so broken.
Just,
He
like,
was
you can't hit that hitbox.
He was this big. He was great.
And then Kinby on Discord asked if you had the resources, what game or movie?
Probably a bad one. I'd make Concord 2. I'd give it a go. Just because I know that if I did that, I'd have at least $100 million, and that'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to have $100 million. And what I'd do is 5 minutes into production, go, you know what, it's a bad idea, and leave and keep all the money.
The one that I've kind of clamored for, and I even mentioned on, like, I think I asked a question on like Twitter a while ago of like, does this game exist yet?
Okay, lay it on me.
A One Piece party style RPG, and then they made it after I'd asked that question, but they did that classic thing of, well, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna say that you're time traveling through all the events of the anime, and I'm like, I don't just want you to retell the story of the anime. But
same problem with like Dragon Ball Kakarot, right? Like, I've seen the anime.
Yeah, I've seen this story so many times already. Like, we're just retreading the same ground over and over again, and I don't want that. And I would kind of, to extend that out a little bit, the idea of like the One Piece RPG, the Shonen RPG, where it's kind of almost like similar to Pokemon, where you can go around and you've got 150 different fucking shonen characters that you could eventually recruit, and you pick a party of like 6 of them or whatever, and you go around with your favorite shonen characters and experience a unique story.
This game exists. It's called Super Robo, but that's specifically all for mecha. So Super Robo is like every giant robot in fiction is in that game. You want that, but for anime.
Yeah,
right.
Like shonen anime. Where just, hey, here's all the Dragon Ball characters, the One Piece characters, the Naruto characters, the, Hunter, Naruto, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, whatever the fuck you want to put in there, like.
And just make them all fight, a crossover fight. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the Super Robo game, which they cross over. Like, it's every time they release a new one, it does gangbusters, at least in Japan. That for anime would be kind of fun.
I really want, when they release, like, fucking Jump Stars and shit like that. I just want a good RPG instead of another generic 3D arena fighter.
Yeah, which is terrible and has crap graphics. And it's poorly optimized. I think my non-joking answer, I was always a big fan of Alien vs. Predator Extinction, which is an RTS set in the Alien and Predator universe. And that game was really fun. It had a really interesting, fun campaign, original story where you play as either aliens, predators, or marines. It had a bunch of extra lore, like there's a crazy selection of like weird aliens you can get. There's a bunch of cool predators things. It never had a deathmatch mode. You could only play through the story of all three. There was no option to go into like a deathmatch mode or challenge other people. And I always thought this is such a good idea. I would love for this to be expanded into, because it was like an RTS light. I would love to see a full RTS set in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could work. There's been a lot of Alien games recently. We had like Alien Dark Descent and Fireteam, where they're trying to use the Alien setting, and they've created like an RTS. They created like a over-the-shoulder like hero-style shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And so not an RTS. They created like a top-down isometric game, like similar to like a la XCOM, and then they created like a hero-style shooter. Give me an RTS.
Yeah.
And like, just as my base, it's just you start with an alien queen, or it's the humans. It's like you land a ship, or as the predators, just send a predator. I just think that'd be really fun.
The idea of that old RTS being like, just modernized and expanded upon, like essentially
the game exists.
A much improved sequel to that game, right?
Yeah, that game exists. It's just like I said, it's for consoles only. There's only a story mode, which is pretty decent for what it is. I'd just love to see it fleshed out. Similarly, if not that, a world building like a SimCity style game where you play as an alien. Where it's a city builder, but it's aliens, and there's already a city there, and then your alien has to take it over.
You know what?
With elements of like Plague Inc.
Yeah,
similar to that.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what you go in like a Sim City is like get your happiness up, you got to get your alien level up. I think that could be a fun idea.
Slightly different game, but one that I was really liking the idea of that's coming out.
Yes.
There was a recent trailer released for Mars Attract,
which is
it's Mars Attacks, that Tim Burton like weird Martian alien invasion movie.
Yeah,
the ACAC, yeah, but you are roller coaster tycooning it and making human slaves build attractions where they go around and all the Martians laugh at the encased humans. It's like a human zoo / theme park.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as the tone of them. Do you know that series was based on fucking playing cards?
Oh, really?
It's based on a series of bubblegum trading cards from the 50s.
Wow.
There was a series of aliens. It's like the aliens from the film, in a series of bizarre, wacky adventures. And you'd collect them. And it's like, ooh, it's like here's a different scene. Or here's them destroying the White House. And the one that everyone always remembers is here's them just lasering the dog, and it's just a little kid about to catch his dog, and one of the little laser shoot, just turning a dog into a flaming skeleton. It's like, yeah.
Never forget.
That's fun. That sounds interesting. I didn't know that existed, and I'm going to keep an eye out for it.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll move on to just the last couple of questions that are based more on just specifically media, as in film, TV. But are there any specific articles of clothing or outfits from media that you're fascinated with and would love to own or see in person? That's Crestfallen Comedian on our Discord.
Most of them I probably wouldn't pull off. That's the problem, right? You always think, I'd love Dante's jacket. You would not pull off Dante's jacket.
Similar, another Capcom jacket, the Leon S. Kennedy RE4 jacket.
I reckon the Leon S. Kennedy jacket will probably be a bit less extreme. I feel like you could pull that off, and it does look very comfortable.
It does, yeah. But
I feel that's a bit
one
less
that's
extreme.
A bit more reasonable to pull off, whereas the red Dante trench coat is a bit more.
I would never have an opportunity to wear a red floor-length trench coat with a sleeve missing, because that's the detail about Dante's jacket, is it's got a sleeve missing. But winter's coming up. Many opportunities to wear a really, really well-fitted shielding coat.
Mm-hmm.
It looks so fucking comfortable.
Yeah.
So probably something like that, something I can actually wear.
That's the one where I think I've always been so attached to the idea of getting that because it is one that you could actually get some use out of.
Yeah, I could wear that. There's every day of autumn, I'd have that shit on.
And Rowan,
I'd be wearing that shit to the club every first date.
Rowan in chat mentions the Trunks half jacket, but not
it's just a denim jacket, right?
It is, but it's a very specific look with the crop on it and stuff, and it's that's hard to pull off, but it does look awesome.
It's as well. It's just a woman's jacket. You can just go buy a woman's denim jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Because specifically, it's Bulma's jacket. That's what no one ever realised about Trunks' jacket. He's wearing his mum's jacket.
Yeah, the
That's why it
capsule
doesn't fit him
cord
properly.
jacket, yeah. But you've got to have a physique like Trunks to really pull it off.
Yeah, not really.
No, you don't. You don't actually. But
If you want to cut the sleeves off, you do.
Oh god, yeah. Dragon Ball's got some great fits, just like the Android 18 fits as well.
Yeah. Cowboy Android 18 is like top tier Android 18.
Every Android 18 is top tier Android 18.
To be fair, it is, yeah. We're going to rock up to the Universe deciding tournament of power in tracksuit bottoms.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Leon Kennedy jacket has always been the
Probably
one.
something like that as well, yeah. Just a really nice, because I don't want like everything, a hat. I'm not a hat guy.
Mm-hmm.
But just a really nice, well-fitted jacket that looks really comfortable and stylish and timeless as well. There's never not going to be a time where just a nice shearling coat is not going to be in fashion.
And to be fair as well, just like almost every outfit in Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, they all look pretty cool.
They all look cool as fuck.
Then similarly, like there's just like a bunch of like sunglasses that I like to own.
Hmm.
Just like a really nice pair of sunglasses, like the Terminator sunglasses, which is a brand called Gargoyles, but they don't really exist anymore. Everyone always thinks Terminator's wearing Ray-Bans, they're wearing Gargoyles, and they had their motto was "Let a gargoyle sit on your face," and they're like $400. So it's like it's a really nice pair of just jet black sunglasses to block out the light.
We got a couple more here. Just Birdie M. Storrington on Discord asks, if you could bring back one cancelled show or film, what would it be?
I'm not sure.
Me to answer first. Well, you have a little.
Yeah, you must. Is there a cancelled show that you're like, why do they cancel
one
it?
that I rewatch every now and then. I'm really annoyed that Netflix cancelled so soon.
Okay.
It got 3 seasons, and I'd still recommend watching it. It was the Santa Clarita Diet.
Ooh, yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that back. That show was great. Ends on a cliffhanger. Timothy Olyphant is just the best.
Drew Barrymore, Timothy Olyphant, they're great. Both of the kids in it are great as well. Stars. I can never remember the woman's name as well. It's like if you're familiar with Always Sunny, like the waitress from It's Always Sunny, she's really funny in that as well.
Nathan Fillion also has a cameo as well. Oh, he's not a cameo, but he's like a guest star in a couple
Nathan
episodes.
Fillion is a character, but then gets replaced by Alan Tudyk in the 3rd season.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's about zombies, and Nathan Fillion's character is a zombie, and he's the zombie for the first couple of seasons. Gets replaced by Alan Tudyk, and it's like, oh, his face just like deteriorated a bit more, and now it looks like Alan Tudyk's face and not Nathan Fillion's face.
It's fine. They know each other in real life. He was probably fine with that. But yeah, and then the young lad in that show, Joey's Jimmy Olsen now.
Oh,
recently they did like a cast photo of like, oh well, here's our Jimmy Olsen. It's that kid, and like second one I saw, that's Jimmy Olsen. That might be the best casting for a superhero movie I've ever seen.
He's really good, and I got really excited when I started The Quarry, and he's in the intro to The Quarry, and then gets backseated for a lot of the story, and I was like, oh, I was excited to see. I like that guy.
He's really good, but they did okay, here's the shot of what's that? Let's find his name. So Skylar Gisondo. That's his name. So I'm gonna find you the shot because just James Gunn's like, oh yeah, here's our Jimmy Olsen. And just the picture that he releases, you just look at that's Jimmy Olsen. Literally the first shot he just sent in, it's like that's Jimmy Olsen. Just every photo of him.
Are you sending it over on Discord?
I'm trying to find the one that they got.
Oh,
yeah, here we go. Just the first picture, it's like he doesn't even look like he's in character or anything like that. It's just that's Jimmy Olsen, right?
Yeah, to be fair.
It might be the best casting for a superhero movie ever. That's better casting than Superman.
And that's the classic thing of never remember the guy's name, but he was in Game of Thrones as the guy leading Bran through the woods and all that. Where that guy's actually 30 odd years old.
Oh, that little kid, yeah.
And he's He was in like, I think he was in like Love Actually and stuff when he was younger.
Yeah.
People would recognize him if I remember, like, if they remember what character I'm talking about. But he's that guy that's looked like he's been 18 years old for like 20 years.
Well, the thing people always point out was he was the same age as the actor playing The Mountain.
Yeah,
And it's
right,
like these two, and they always blow your mind and go, these two people are the same age.
And it looks like there's about 20 years difference between them.
And about 4 foot as well. Yeah. Santa Clarita Diet is a very good choice. And I always forget about it because every time I think about Santa Clarita Diet, I get annoyed.
Get annoyed about the fact that it not only didn't finish after 3 seasons, like it got cancelled. It got cancelled on a really good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And man, that's just such a like cool, light-hearted, enjoyable show that I wish we got the rest of it.
And just what the chemistry between the cast.
Mm-hmm.
The chemistry was so strong with the cast.
Just the cast is what carries that, and it's just a really dumb, enjoyable thing. I remember just at first, because like obviously the kind of descriptor on Netflix or whatever doesn't really sell it very well because it's trying to hide the truth about the plot. And I remember like Jenna mentioned, oh, like I've heard a few people say this was really good, and I read the description and was like, I'm not really sold on this. And like, what, like, it's a terrible name.
First of all, yeah, it's a terrible name.
If you've not watched it, the name is terrible and sounds like really generic. And then the descriptor's kind of generic to keep things vague and not spoil the plot. And I was like, I don't really know about this. And then I watched it, and it's really like dumb, goofy fun.
Just the line I always remember. It's just, oh, where's that character? Like when they cop character goes missing. So where is he? It's like, I don't know. He's at the beach shooting starfish. Just the idea, just someone going to the beach to shoot a starfish always cracked me up. It's such a random one, but it's stuck with me forever. Like, have you seen him? I don't know. I think he said something about going to the beach to shoot some starfish, and I'm like, oh, okay.
But you also think about that character and go, yeah, that sounds like the kind of psychopathic thing he'd do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one's a strong choice. I'm not sure mine would be now because you just the only one I can think of is that now. I'm like, damn, it never did get its sequel, did it?
Never got finished. And obviously, there's a litany of Netflix shows that Netflix is notorious for just cancelling shit.
It's their raison d'etre, right? Just cancelling stuff. The reason why, if anyone curious, is why do Netflix cancel shows that are doing well after 2 or 3 seasons? It's because after 2 or 3 seasons, when the actors, established, and Netflix tries to renew, the actors and director and team behind it can now ask for more money.
There's generally
the problem is,
yeah, there's that reason, and also the fact that generally after the first 2 seasons, they don't see any new people watching.
Yeah, it's only people who've already subscribed to Netflix who want to watch the conclusions of a show, which isn't good for their bottom line. It's only like breakout shows like Stranger Things, where a new season of Stranger Things will encourage more people to subscribe.
Yeah, there's that thing of, well, if we keep making really good season 1s to shows that will get a wide variety of people starting to subscribe again, that's what we want. We don't want the million people that already like Santa Clarita Diet to just watch the next season. They're still subscribed. We want to cancel that and make a new show that's going to get a few new people to subscribe.
Yeah, they never seem to think past of well, what about that million people who like Santa Clarita Diet? What happens when the show gets a really unsatisfying conclusion? It's fine. I'm sure they'll just remain subscribed, right?
Yeah, when we've built up years and years worth of a reputation of just bad will and cancelling everything, people will love that, right?
It's that super short-sighted business mind of, well, we'll make money now. It's like, but if we get a reputation for cancelling all the good shit, we're going to crater our brand reputation, right? It's like, but who cares? That's 5 years from now. 5 years from now, why is nobody subscribing to Netflix?
Yeah, I'll have sold my stocks 5 years from now. I don't give a shit. Is the answer, right?
Yeah, and then the question will be then why are no creatives agreeing to make content on our platform? Because they know you're going to cancel their shit in a year.
And we just got one more here, Carl.
One more, let's go.
I do not know how to say this at all. VHZ HLB on Twitter. Sorry, I don't know how to say that, but do you consider that the handling of the channel and the content creation for it has changed how any of you in the team consumes media? And to clarify, like, the team is just Karl and I know
Just me.
that, like,
And you.
people have mentioned just other people working on Fat Fiend. What are they doing? Like, they're all just working on their own projects, and it is just Karl and I working here.
And Fact Fiend now is just me. Behind the scenes, everything's handled by myself because, yeah, I spent years building it up to the point where it can now just be run by one person.
Mm-hmm.
Just part-time, doing one video a week.
Just, like, peeling away a lot of the unnecessary things that kind of were not just the core part of the channel. Is like,
It's a
just
PO,
make the videos. You don't need to worry about, like, the merch and live events and stuff like that. It starts to get overwhelming. Like, don't need 4 different channels. Like, if you peel all that back and just go, hey, I just need to make videos, and can I get a few friends to, like, come and guest star on the videos?
Yeah. Very, very simple concept. Strip it back. In business, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
But yeah, like, I do think, just speaking for myself, I think the one thing that I've learned in terms of watching other people's content and the way that I like to think that maybe it's changed is that I just have a bit more of an understanding of how rough it can be to get things working perfectly at all times, and just being a bit more lenient in terms of getting mad at, you know, audio problems happening and things like that,
Yeah.
and just little things behind the scenes that you don't think about. Of like, oh, well, I listened to this live podcast and the echo was really bad on this one. It's like, yeah, because they were recording it live in a big echoey hall with a live audience and shit. It's
It's like I've got a lot more patience for other content creators because I'm keenly aware of the issues. Like something I brought up today. I was just thinking about it as I was going back through some old content. It's like, remember, Lucas, 'cause you did the edit for this. You used to do the editing for Fact Fiend, like back in the day. Before, like, I just stripped everything back and took over. Do you remember, like, when we got the new desk set up, and every time I put down a cup of coffee, we would get comments saying, people acting like it's the end of the world. They were acting like I was dropping a dumbbell directly onto the microphone, right? And it was like every video, I'd like to watch the video, but I'm so distracted by the noise of you putting down your coffee cup. And it got to the point where in the edits, you went to the effort of every time my coffee cup got placed down, you'd mute my audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the shock mount that the microphone was on, we moved that to another table off screen, and the complaints never stopped, right?
Almost an identical amount of comments every time saying how bad it was, and I was like, but as far as I can hear,
You went through, listened to with headphones, right?
I used to put on headphones, double check all of the cuts that I'd made, make sure that, like, there is literally no audio from Karl's end, not even reduced or anything. Like, it does not exist. Just that bit is clipped and cut every time the mug hits the table. And I felt like I was being gaslit or something by the comments, because the comments were still there of like, it's so annoying. I'm like, I got rid of them all.
And that's just an example of people will complain about literally nothing. And it is the reason I know that is because I'm still recording this video on that exact same desk. The microphone is actually closer to the desk than it was when we recorded those videos. I said the shock mount the mic arm was on was off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
I now know that, but the microphone is just not visible on camera. Neither is the desk where I place my coffee cup.
Mm-hmm.
Literally out of sight, out of mind. And I have a lot of like patience for content creators now because I know even if there's no problem, people will make up a problem to get annoyed about. Because that's something we spent weeks trying to figure out what the issue was. And all it was is people just assumed that there was a noise and got annoyed and yelled at us for it.
And I admit that I know that, especially with headphones and people having audio sensitivities and stuff, it probably began with an actual problem.
That we fixed.
That we then fixed, but people couldn't get over the problem then being stuck in their head.
Yeah. It's like it was literally a thing that they made up in their head and got mad at us for.
And
And
admittedly,
I'm aware
yeah,
that's the thing that can
again,
happen.
to clarify, they didn't make it up to begin with. I just, on my headphones, with my level of audio sensitivity, didn't think it was enough of a problem to have to cut out every time.
Yeah, and then when we fixed it to the point of you excising the audio from the video, it's still got complaints, which is like, and there's other examples that are a bit less humorous of just many examples throughout the years of realizing it doesn't actually matter what you do, how ethical, how moral, how upstanding you try to be. All you need to do is make one mistake, even something you don't view as a mistake, for someone to immediately turn on you and become just frustrated and get annoyed with you. So you realize just don't try to appeal to that audience. Try to just make content you're happy with.
I guess that's also one other way that I have learned is just the fact that maybe the opposite way of don't always give everyone leniency and trust everyone, in the sense
don't give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Yeah,
there are some people that to this day, despite having a myriad of other people provide evidence to the prior, that will try to claim that they have zero control, whether it be on like YouTube or Twitch or whatever platform that they're on, that they can't control the ads.
Yep.
And the ad appears every 2 minutes on my YouTube videos because that's just YouTube. I'm sorry, I would stop that if I could. And it's like, bullshit. You can stop that. And we put in like a couple of ads. And obviously for live streaming it's a bit different, it's a bit more automated. And then when, behind the scenes a little bit stuff, just when this live stream then goes not live, there is a period of time where it's processing and I can't change those, and it will be like stuffed with ads, but then the next day I can go behind the scenes, go to the monetization settings, and because the video is now processed in HD, I can then take a bunch of those out and just leave a couple in, so it's a bit more reasonable. But just the idea that
another aspect, yeah.
Some people just can't be trusted, and they will lie to your face about how they make their money.
And that has changed the way I've observed other content creators and consume the content they create. It's just I know that they're lying, or I know they're full of shit. So it makes it really difficult to watch their content, knowing that I know that you're not telling the truth about this, and it's frustrating that you're claiming otherwise. Like, I remember when the initial adpocalypse happened. Honestly, it was when YouTube changed it so you need to get like 10,000 subs or something like that to get your videos monetized. I remember a bunch of content creators came out like, well, look, if you're making YouTube videos just to make money, you're making YouTube videos for the wrong reason. And I remember every single one of them had on their Twitter profile an email address you contact them for business inquiries. And they all had 5 different revenue streams.
Presumably at least 100k subs, right?
Every single one, yeah. It's like just the absolute just fuck you got mine attitude. And that's when people hear me say I don't watch many content creators, that's one of the reasons why. It's an awful ecosystem that has a very negative draining effect on your mental health. And that's why I try to interact with it as little as possible as a creator within it. I make YouTube videos. I don't interact with any of the YouTube content creators. I don't consider myself to be a YouTube content creator. I don't talk to other YouTube content creators. I don't follow any. I watch stuff on YouTube, but it's normally like stuff from other platforms like news reports and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Because I know how awful it can be for your mental health and just refuse to interact with it as little as I can.
And that thing is, I'm a little bit more in the avenue of following certain creators and stuff. Always trying to bear in mind in the back of my head of
they're people, right?
They're people, and don't treat them like your heroes, and don't try and establish these weird parasocial relationships and things like that. That's always in the back of my head of don't fall into that trap that these are these amazing heroes of yours. It's no, they're just knobheads who talk about their opinion online.
No.
Including us. We always say all this shit, and to clarify, we always include ourselves within these brackets.
Well, multiple times throughout this video, I have refused to give advice on stuff because I'm not qualified to do so. And yeah, most YouTubers aren't qualified to give any advice beyond the most superficial. So I've got a degree in media and communication studies. So that's probably the only thing I feel an authority on. But even then, I'm still going to say, like, always seek out your own answers. And most of what my degree was the interpretation of media. It only taught me how to do it. But the point of interpreting media is that it's a broad, open subject where your own opinion is encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think we talked about on your stream the other day, didn't we? A frustrating aspect of creating content is that it's of watching created content is seeing that people will. Okay, let me try again. As we mentioned on your stream the other day, a key issue I have with a lot of created content online, it's one of the reasons why I try not to interact with it much, is because I don't want to fall into the trap of just repeating somebody else's opinion as my own, which is a trap a lot of people do fall into. Of, like we mentioned, like CinemaSins is a popular example of. I talked about how there's a mutual friend of ours who's got a family member who refuses to watch movies until they've watched the CinemaSins video, so they know the parts that they can point out in the movie to complain about loudly because they think that they don't want to have their own thoughts about it. They don't want to be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the other reasons I try not to interact with media online or discussions about it.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, maybe a good example just that you might not notice all the time. Just differences between making a podcast, making a video is like, for a video, that moment where Carl's like, oh, sorry, let me start again.
Yeah.
We can cut shit like that out in a edited video. We can't in a live podcast, and just also watching videos with a bit more grace of people making little mistakes here and there.
Yes. I'm also keenly aware, though, that sometimes those mistakes are intentional. Because I'm also keenly aware, I worked behind the scenes for years doing SEO work and scripting. Mm-hmm. So I'm also aware that sometimes those flubs are deliberate, like something about set design, for example. Almost every YouTuber who does something with a camera setup similar to ours, they would deliberately craft a set that looks like a bedroom or an office, when in reality, you know, they're in a huge YouTube mansion. That's why we always joked in the early Fact Fiend days about the YouTube mansion.
I still think one of my favorite examples of that in like a jokey way is the person that had, like, their background was their bedroom, and their bedroom every single time had the nice neon lights, the nice tidy bed, and all that jazz. Yeah, of course. And one time there was just a clip that I saw. I don't even know who the creator is, so I can't credit them because it was just a funny clip I saw ages ago. But
yep,
it was this person being told, like, oh, I really like how like nice and neat your bedroom is all the time, makes such a nice background. And they went, joke's on you, motherfucker. Like, reach down. There was actually a green screen behind them the entire time of when they'd recorded like footage of their clean bedroom and put that on loop. And it was just a messy shit of a bed behind them with like clothes and stuff all over. And I was like, I respect that move so much. Of instead of actually tidying my room and keeping it clean all the time, I'm going to play a looped clean plate of my bedroom on a green screen behind me.
Which is like the opposite, right? That's someone who like just lives in for... they're putting on a front that's like more like better than the situation they live in. But the one that I get frustrated by is people playing down how successful they are. Like there's a...
Yeah, that's why I enjoyed that clip, because it makes them more relatable rather than, oh, actually, you were in a mansion pretending you like lived in a shithole.
Right. There's a bunch of Twitch streamers who did that. Like, there's that Twitch streamer who got, again, forget the name, but some knobhead did like a 8-day stream and raised like $200,000. And then afterwards they came out and went, well, the news is saying I got $200,000, but I don't get all of that. I've got to pay tax on it. And I was like, oh, whoa, you got to pay fucking taxes on your earnings. They genuinely thought that would like make people feel bad for them. Of like, well, I've got to pay taxes. You mean like a job?
Yeah, guess what, fucker? All of us have to pay taxes, and most of us don't make 200 grand in a week.
Yeah, and it's that aspect of when like they try and play down how much they earn as not. I think there was some Twitch streamers on like up 200 grand a month, were playing down like, well, I don't earn more than a doctor. It's like, yes, you do.
And also, even if you
Doctors
didn't,
don't sit on their ass all
that
day.
is a very valued position in society that takes years of training to get to
Yeah.
that point, and then probably years of promotions to get to that pay grade. They've
Yeah.
earned that shit.
And that's
You're
one of the
just
things
a
that makes
dumbass online.
that again is something I like. I look out for that, and it gets frustrating. Like, just be honest. The thing we've always tried to do with our content is be honest about our situation and the
Yeah.
reason why we're making the content that we do.
I'm all for people making that bag, but just
Exactly. Just be honest about
be
it.
honest, communicative, and be understanding that, like, if people do want to support, then it's much appreciated. But also, you know, it frustrates me, like, the amount of times where people get annoyed that people aren't supporting in a monetarily way. And it's like, just to me, people giving their time to view is enough.
Yes.
And I always, you know, try to remember to make comments like, oh, doing something as simple as sharing our video is a free way to support our channel. But I never expect any of the people. Like, I watch plenty of YouTube, as I said. I don't remember to like and comment and share and subscribe on most of the stuff I watch. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm better with it. But generally I don't. And that's fine. Just giving your time to watch a piece of content is a lot of support in itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
But it does. That's it. It's a difficult thing because, like, you know, we've kind of seen how a sausage is made, and we've got like that insight into the back end of it. And my personal experience with it is, like, again, I work script writing and SEO work, and I just know on the back end how just insidious and seedy it is. And I've interacted with or have people or know people who've interacted with various larger internet personalities and know, like, just the absolute clusterfuck things are behind the scenes, and it makes me very hesitant to ever dip my toes into it more than the amount that I have.
And there you go, just an example in chat as well. Ethos saying, like, you're going to share that you boycott Pet of the Week. Well, you fell for our trap, because that's part of the reason that we thought Pet of the Week was such a good idea.
It was.
Suggested by someone in chat at the time, and just we were like, well, not only is it a really cute, positive thing to be able to do and a good way to encourage people to join the Discord and interact with our Discord, it's also a way to trick the person who, not trick, but encourage the person who's pet one Pet of the Week to go share that to people.
Exactly, yeah.
But we think that that's the kind of attitude you should have, of a bit of a balance of do something that, yeah, might encourage someone to share, but is also a positive way to do so and a fun way to try and mix things up and get people involved and stuff, rather than just tell people they're dickheads if they don't.
And doesn't involve dishonesty. Because I can only think to the biggest example that springs to mind from recently, we like James Somerton last year, I think, the H-Bomber guy thing, where he was like constantly pleading poverty on social media while earning 17 grand a month on Patreon.
And that was the person who was like plagiarizing a bunch of content
which
from,
I have a
like, LGBT community as well, which, like, not just you're plagiarizing, but you're plagiarizing from people trying to, like, make an active change and try and represent a community.
I'm still mad they didn't plagiarize me, because they plagiarized a bunch of stuff from Cracked, but nothing I wrote was good enough to be plagiarized.
Well, maybe it was too good. Maybe it was so good that they thought it was never going to be believed to be their own content, Karl.
And that's the other thing as well of plagiarism as well. I know, like, so many content creators who don't do their research or their due diligence or are using bad sourcing. And just, like I said, I think the start of that H-Bomber guy video, he talks about James Somerton of, I watched one video and knew he was full of shit. Instantly, just second one, I knew he was full of shit because he doesn't know what he's talking about. The amount of times I have from my experience of, like, researching and writing for like a decade and a half, the amount of times where I'll watch like one of those videos where it's like, oh, did you know this about this? And I click it, and in 5 seconds I go, you're wrong. And I hate that I do that, because I would much rather turn my brain off and watch it. But I can't. And I hate it sometimes. I hate sometimes, like, there's ignorance is bliss, right? You'd rather not know that Dave Grohl's a piece of shit, so you can just listen to their music and enjoy it. I'd rather not know that the people are wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even wrong about bad things, like when they're talking about, oh, just the production of a movie or something. It's like, oh, there's a fun fact about this movie. It's like, that's not true. I wish I didn't know that, though, so I could watch this and be like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, sometimes I get it. The amount of like gaming podcasts that I listen to, where I will like listen to one podcast, where it's like a news podcast, and
Yeah.
then a day later I'll listen to somebody reacting to somebody's comment on that podcast, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not what they said. You're misquoting them.
Yep.
Like you're taking the word out of context and you're misquoting them. Like that's not
then,
what they were implying or
but then
saying.
people react to the misquote, and it spreads, and it's like, and then it becomes this whole toxic mess. And then, oh, we're going to use that as a jumping off point for drama and arguing, and it's like, oh,
The amount of times I see it like in real time happen, where I listen to the podcast, see the article get written where they take the quote out of context, and then the next day start listening to a
Retweet.
podcast where they'll like start complaining about the article that is
The tweet.
misquoting the person. It's like, for fuck's sake. Oh, very funny. But yeah, I think that's about time we should end because it's been a long
Good.
one.
Yeah, as indeed. But it's been a long one because we've been making this content for a long time.
And also just, we wanted to make sure that we put a lot of effort into like making sure that it was a good, nice, different podcast for the QA special.
Lots of questions answered. Hopefully, everyone is now sated until we get to the next funny number. So tune in for episode 420.
I was gonna say it's gonna be a while because that's gonna the next meme one is like 420, right? It's a
There we
while
go.
away.
So if we keep making videos for another 8 years,
Close to. Drop your comments in this video for questions for episode 420.
what are you doing in 8 years, mate? Oh god, I'll be 41 in 8 years.
Oh, for 40.
Oh, oh. I'll be 41. Oh.
Oh, we'll be in our 40s. Hopefully, have
won't.
more
I
money
will
than we
be.
do right now.
Oh.
Hopefully, more subscribers at least.
Yeah. Most maybe we'll do it for like the next meme subscriber thing. Like maybe if we get to like 50,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
We're nearly at 30,000 now, so maybe we get to 50,000. We can do like something, like a special episode or something like that.
Yeah, we can think about that, but we.
No, 69,000 subs. There we go.
There we go. We're deep,
Done.
yeah. Oh dear. Right. Thank you all for watching, and I hope everyone.
Cheers, everybody.
See
See you all next time.